What is going on, guys? We're back again. This is
We are.
episode 4. I'm going to start off by saying happy Halloween.
Yep. Happy
Obviously,
Halloween.
obviously we're going to be doing Halloween 1978, Shaun's all-time favorite horror movie. I have a lot to say about this one, and it's going to be a really long one.
So much so that I'm pretty sure you ended up being longtime partners with Roxy, and her birthday's Halloween.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Roxy, too.
Yeah, no, happy birthday to my love. Yeah, actually, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, good call on
100%.
that. Yeah.
Shaun has two loves. One is Roxy, the other is Halloween, the original.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Yeah, so I guess we will kick this off with...
Let's do it. This is your show.
This is my show, yeah. So,
you got the shirt.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I think your hat's Terrifier too, right?
Yes. And
okay.
Of course I would wear the shirt. Yes, of course. Yep. So, we will start off with, from a budget of $300,000 over a 20-day shoot. This movie only took 21 days to film. Mm-hmm. The movie grossed over $47 million in the United States, and it grossed an additional $23 million internationally, making it theoretical total $70 million, making it one of the most successful independent films of all time. Independent horror films of all time. Yeah, so that's big. Those are big numbers. 300,000 and it made $70 million. Like that's those are big numbers.
That's just the first one in the franchise. So imagine how much money alone that franchise created just because this movie sets such a high bar. Like, you know.
Well, exactly. Like, you know, the first one was just one. You know, and like for me, I don't want to be like naive. No, I don't know if I say I'm not. No, I don't know if I'd say I'm naive for saying this, but like, you know, I would like to have just one, just the original. You know, sometimes I feel like that should have been the way it should have been. That's just, I don't know, that's the way I feel about it sometimes, because
it's a popular theory. A lot of people like you can't recreate a masterpiece like that, right? Like a lot of people have that mindset.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything wrong with having that opinion.
As much as they've tried to make, you know, sequels, man, like a lot, the Halloween franchise, a lot of it sucks. A lot of the movies are brutal or they don't make sense.
I think at one point they kind of, I don't want to say it, but they almost ruined Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie. Like, you know, they kind of do her wrong at some point through the franchise, to the point where they almost have to I feel like they created the 2018 Halloween to kind of redeem.
Well, that's, I think it was Resurrection, because Resurrection, she dies right at the beginning. Yes. She gets killed right at the beginning, and then Michael goes on to... Sorry?
I think at the mental hospital.
Yeah, and then Michael goes on. Resurrection's a mess. It's a hot mess. I watched it last week just because I did a Halloween franchise, you know, obviously. The ones that I don't mind.
I actually don't mind Resurrection, not gonna lie.
No, I was gonna say, I don't mind it, but it's a ridiculous movie. It's so ridiculous. That you kind of have to kind of like it.
I just watch it for Busta Rhymes' quotes. That's all I watch it for.
Yeah. Trick or treat, motherfucker. Yeah, all those, of course, you know, those days that they put rappers in movies, Busta Rhymes.
We're 2000s kids, right? Like, that's when we were watching all this shit. So, like, that was...
That's all they did.
At that time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, yeah. LL Cool J was in Deep Blue Sea, was in H2O. You know.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
It was all right when they did that. It was, you know, it was a 2000s thing. Why not, right?
I enjoyed it. I always spotted them, and I'd be like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, you know, even if it was in an unpopular movie or something like that. But
yeah, no, it was a good touch. It kind of made the movie, you know, kind of added spice to the movie, right?
Of character.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of character, exactly. So, an American independent slasher film directed and scored by John Carpenter, co-written with producer Deborah Hill. The greatest horror film of all time. That's not added. I added that in there. That's those are my words. But anyways, So
I feel like a lot of people, like we mentioned in Scream, if Ghostface is on the phone with you and you get asked what's your favorite scary movie, a lot of
yes,
people will say Halloween. So I
yes,
mean,
yes.
there's
No,
a
a lot of
reason why
people
they
do.
have
Yeah.
that
No, exactly.
reputation, you know.
Yeah. No, for
100%. Yeah.
sure.
It's
Okay.
1978 it got released, right?
Yes. Yeah.
1978? Okay.
Yeah.
Which would have been 3 years after my favorite. So that's cool, which would be
Yeah,
Jaws.
no, it's a coincidence, right? Like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
3 years after, like, and
And
like,
you always hear so many people, a lot of directors and producers, or anyone who's on the crew of these films. A lot of times, it always goes back to Halloween and Jaws when it comes to inspiration, or even like the little references that are in all these movies. A lot
oh,
of the
for
times,
sure.
it's Jaws and Halloween. So that's
For
kind of
sure.
cool that they're
Yes.
within only three
The
years of each other.
same.
That's
Yeah,
cool,
no, exactly. Well,
and
jo-
they both have amazing scores.
yes. Oh, yeah. The score in both of them is, you know what I mean? Like, I like
Mhm.
download the soundtrack on Spotify and just let it play. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I have both of them on my playlist, and when I'm at parties and my phone's being used, it's like
yeah.
when they come
No.
on,
yeah.
like shit. But
No.
yeah, no, this one
They,
definitely set the bar high in
yes.
horror, the horror community
A lot of people
in
don't
total.
realize it, but if it wasn't for Halloween,
Mhm,
we wouldn't have. I think we said this already in one of our
mhm,
other episodes. We wouldn't have anything else. We
mm-mm,
have, there was Texas Chainsaw
mhm.
Massacre at 74, but that was a different
Yes,
vibe. That was not a
and
slasher.
Psycho
Yeah,
way before that, but again, that's a
yes,
different vibe. Like it was a different
yeah,
kind of. It was almost like a psychological
yeah.
horror in
Like even
sense, you know.
even Sean S. Cunningham in an interview says, I want to make a movie and I want it to be like Halloween. He literally said
Yes.
that in his interview,
Hmm.
and they changed the setting a little bit. They made it a little,
Hmm.
tweaked it up a little bit, and then there we have
Hmm.
Friday the 13th, which the first one was I think 1981 or
Yep.
1982, which is only 3 or 4 years after, right? So and then you get
No,
your sleep,
exactly.
yeah, then you get your sleepaway camp, and then and Halloween, went on to, I don't know what the franchise is worth now, but it spawned 12 or 13 films over the course of
I was actually going to say 12 or
35
13, so I feel
years.
like it's yeah, and they're still in the discussions about like continuing it. So,
Yeah.
I think that says everything right there, really.
No, exactly. Unfortunately, like I'm a sucker. I'm gonna go see every Halloween movie that's ever made. I'm gonna go watch it, no matter how
Hmm.
much I say they gotta let it die. I'm
Hmm.
gonna go watch it no matter what. But I think I wouldn't be disappointed if they let it die, because I think they should have let it
Exactly.
die a while ago. I personally think
Hmm.
it should have ended. Like, I'm a big fan of the Laurie Strode timeline,
Of course.
not the new trilogy, but the old trilogy,
Yep.
1, 2, and then H2O. I think those
Yep.
three are perfect movies. I think that should have ended it there when Laurie cut off Michael's head with the axe.
Hmm.
I think that was the perfect ending. They should have left it like that. But no, they had to make Resurrection, Dimension Films. Oh, well, it was
Yep.
the wrong person,
And
the
it goes back to character development that we're always talking about in these videos. Those movies that you mentioned, they gave Glory this incredible opportunity
oh,
to develop as
yes,
a
yes.
character,
It's
and then
character.
they to
You
just
like the
do her wrong like
yes.
that. Like, excuse
No,
me, like I'm taking it
exactly.
personally.
Yeah,
I
no,
feel like a lot of
exactly.
people
Yes. A
have that
lot,
opinion.
yeah, especially with Resurrection, like, like, and she agreed to be in the movie, but it was her idea to get killed off. It was her
She
idea to
was
get,
probably just done with it at this
yeah,
point.
that's the thing though, right? It was her idea to get killed off, and they still went ahead and made the movie, and it's like, well, if Laurie's gonna get
Mhm.
killed off, why even make the movie? But cha-ching,
Exactly.
that's all it
Where
boils
does the
down.
line get drawn?
Yeah, even if we make a shitty movie, we're gonna make whatever $1 million, and you know what I mean, and people are
Because,
gonna
like
get,
you said, you'll always go see a Michael Myers movie.
yeah,
You'll always go
I'm
see a
always, yeah,
Halloween. So, and there's
yeah.
a lot of Shauns out there who have
Yes.
that, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. So yeah. Anyways, I think I'll start off with the recap then. I guess.
Let's do it.
All right. So credits roll with that famous opening, one of the most iconic theme songs of horror history. Actually, I'm gonna go back to that while I'm doing the recap. John Carpenter, in an interview, he said, "My father bought me a pair of bongos for Christmas when I was 13, and he taught me 5/4 time. Pop, pop, pop. So I thought that was clever. I sat down with this piano, just one and done, 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 and played octaves. That's where the theme comes from. It's very simple. It's like it's like two notes. Like it's that's where
and
it
that's
came
all it
from.
has to be.
Yeah. So, but all right. So yeah, we get the theme song. We get the credits. The credits are rolling, and I love the way they did that with the. I don't know. It was just a basic black screen with orange writing. That's all
And
it
pumpkins,
was.
right?
Yes, and
wasn't there pumpkins?
I don't know. You know what? I just watched it. I've watched it enough times now. I get confused with the first and second one because you can watch the first and second one as one movie, but the second one, the intro, I know the second one is pumpkins, and there's a pumpkin opening up with a candle.
I know there's one where it's like they kind of glimpse at like the jack-o'-lantern's eye, and like it kind of looks like it would be Michael holding a knife. Like the shot, like the way that it's kind of
yeah. I'm trying to remember which one.
It's like a rough cut, and just if you look at those two little spots in the pumpkin, it kind of looks like it would be like a silhouette of his head holding a knife.
Yeah.
But again, there's so many of them.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's unless I don't know which one that is. I don't know if it's definitely not. I don't like. I'm not a fan of 4 and 5. Maybe it was 4 or 5 that because I think I would remember that one. But I know a couple of the like I know the intro for 1 and 2 are basically the same. 3, I haven't seen 3. Honestly, I haven't because it doesn't involve
Season
Michael
of the Witch,
Myers.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it doesn't involve Michael Myers, so I don't really have an interest in watching it. Maybe one day I will, because I hear a lot of people do like it as its own movie. And then the part 6 has a weird intro. Part H2O doesn't really have much of an intro. And then Resurrection. Yeah, I don't know which one is the one that you're talking about, actually. I don't really know which one it is. I'd have to go back and look at it. But, yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
I was going to try to do that pumpkin, but yeah, it didn't happen.
That would have been cool.
It, like, sitting here with me. But...
Yeah, no, that would have been mint.
No, it didn't happen.
That's all good. All right, so... After credits roll, we see that it takes place in Haddonfield, Illinois on Halloween night in 1963. As kids are singing a little Halloween song, and it's just kind of like coming out in the background, like, then it cuts to a scene. We get as if someone is walking up to the house in like a third-person camera view, which is the way I love how they do this. This is what makes horror movies awesome. The way they do this is an old school thing. It's not.
It's a beautiful shot.
No movies don't do that now. It's an old school thing. And, Evil Dead did it. Halloween did it. Friday the 13th did it. It's an old school thing, right? So, so we get as if someone is walking up to the house in this third-person camera view, and the camera starts moving around the house, creeping around the house. We see 2 teenagers on the couch through a window. The one guy says, "Are we alone?" And the girl says, "Michael should be around somewhere." So that tells us she's either babysitting or related to Michael. The dude then says, "Let's go upstairs." And then they both head upstairs. And then the camera then walks around the house. At this point, we most likely know it's Michael. At this point, we assume it is anyways, or it's someone. It's someone watching these. The couple.
Yep.
Another beautiful score music starts up as the camera's creeping around the house, because the score, when Michael's around, because there's the three iconic scores, the 3 iconic ones. There's the simple, it's like when he did it, and then there's the other one where it's like
very subtle, but it's still there.
Yeah, and then and the other one sounds like kind of like stars, not stars, but it's like it's hard to describe.
It's like a little bit more elevated, like it's a little quicker, but it's kind of like adding tension. Like it's a little bit more tense than the first one, like the other one you just mentioned.
Yeah. No, that's the perfect way to describe it. And then we got the theme song. Those are the 3 iconic Michael Myers.
And that's Michael on a Mission. If you hear that one, that's like Michael on a Mission, or they're transitioning to Michael on a Mission. Like that's usually where that's used.
It's like, yeah, danger is here kind of thing. Like, we're
exactly.
fucked kind of thing.
Exactly.
So where was I? The dude then says, "Let's go upstairs. Let's head upstairs." And the camera then walks around the house. At this point, we most likely know it's Michael or someone watching them.
Mm-hmm.
Another beautiful score. Score music starts up as the camera is creeping around the house, and then walks in the house. More music starts as soon as he walks in the house. Then the light gets turned on in the kitchen, and we see an arm in a green costume. Opens the kitchen cupboard, pulls it out, grabs a big kitchen knife, then starts walking through the house, still in this third-person camera view. By now we know it's Michael. Well, we don't know it's Michael, but we know it's...
They're being watched.
Yeah, we know it's someone. It's not just the way the camera was shot, like the way the movie was shot.
Someone's up to something here.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's up to something. We then get that guy that said, "Let's go upstairs," coming down the stairs, putting his shirt on, while it seems this person that grabbed the knife with the green costume on is kind of peeping around the corner, watching him come down the stairs. He puts his shirt on, and then he leaves the house. As the camera starts, he leaves the house, says bye, whatever. As the camera starts walking up the stairs, the camera then gets to the top of the stairs and sees a clown mask on the ground. Then we see this arm again with the green costume on. Grabs the clown mask, picks it up, puts it on his face. Now we have just eye views of what's going on. I love it, the way they shot this movie was amazing.
Absolutely.
And it's so simple. This whole movie, less is more. Like, there's no blood, barely anything. Like you said, it was shot for $300,000. It's simple, and it you know what I mean? It was so creepy. It was actually originally supposed to be called The Babysitter Murders instead of Halloween. But they changed the name to Halloween. And then, all right, so, so you see through the eye holes as the camera's walking around. And then the camera walks in a room and we get a girl humming. Or no, the camera is walking towards a room. We get a girl humming. And then we see her brushing her hair naked in the mirror. We later in the movie discover that it's Michael's older sister, Judith Myers, played by Sandy Johnson. She turns around and sees Michael there and starts to shout, "Michael, what are you doing in here?" Then we see Michael to start to stab her repeatedly. Then he starts with here goes the heavy breathing. This is another trick that they did that's just amazing. I love it. Everything about this movie, I'm going to say that through this whole podcast, through this whole episode. And we see Judith, so he's stabbing her, heavy breathing, and then we see Judith laying on the floor in a room dead. Michael kind of stares at her for a minute, and then Michael then walks down the stairs and goes straight outside, and his parents roll up. His father then says, "Michael," all kind of confused, then pulls off his mask, and we see the face of young Michael, played by Will Sandon. Michael was 6. This was 6-year-old Michael, Will Sandon. As the camera starts drifting away, with a little bit of music, Michael, his father's Michael, all confused, and then pulls off his mask, and then Michael's standing there with a knife, and then the camera kind of just drifts away.
Kind of get a grand view of things.
Yeah.
A little bit. The situation.
Yeah. I'm just gonna take a drink of water here.
Yeah, it's fine. So, I know we're not too far into it or anything, but do you think people were actually expecting this in 1978? Like, when they went to the movies, I know that they obviously saw previews and noticed, it's going to be a slasher film, but, do you think they were actually expecting how, it being a legendary film at that point?
Yeah, you know what? That's something I should have... Well, I can... Obviously, John Carpenter made it one film. He only made it as one film. you know,
Yeah, you're right.
they put him in credit in every other single film. They obviously credit him because it's his story, it's his music they use. They credit him, but he's literally only directed one Halloween film, and it was the first one. So I don't think, you know, such a cheap movie, 300,000 made 70 million. Like, okay, like, wow. No, I don't think
it
that
created
was
an empire in that genre,
yeah,
in horror, you know.
I personally don't think that they had planned for this to happen. You know,
I know. I
just
can kind
with
of tell, like, and it's not because it's poor acting or poor quality or anything, but I don't think back then it was as like you drop a movie and you already got like the rights to make a second one before the movie even got released. Like, I don't think that really happened too much back then. That's
no.
more of like a modern thing,
It
right?
seems like it is. Yeah, now it's no, for sure. I totally agree with you. Actually, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Probably not.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, no, so do I. We'll revisit that. We're gonna revisit that in another episode.
That's something to look into.
Yeah, we're gonna come back and say, Brittany, you're right, or no, you weren't right.
But
yeah. So after the camera drifts away, then it cuts to another scene. Says Smiths Grove, Illinois. This is now October 30th, 1978. This is 15 years later.
It's Devil's Night.
Yes.
Legit.
Yes, yeah, it's Devil's Night. Yeah, it's Rox's birthday, not 1978, but, you know, October 30th. You brought that up, so that's awesome that you brought that up. I don't even know why. You know, I'm like, wow, you know, this is about Halloween, but hey, you brought that up.
I do remember her birthday, like, being awesome. Halloween, and it was perfect for you guys, because you guys have always been around about, like, this kind of shit, right?
Yeah, so Rox loves horror movies, too.
It's definitely fitting for her.
Yeah, she loves horror movies, too, so... so we get a car driving down the highway, and it's raining. Two people in the car talking. Dr. Sam Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, rest in peace, Donald Pleasance, and Nurse Marion Chambers, played by Nancy Stevens. As they're driving down the road, Loomis asks Nurse Chambers, "Have you ever done anything like this before?" She then states she's done a minimum security job. We then see a sign ahead of them that says Illinois State Hospital. Nurse Chambers then says to Loomis that the only thing that bugs her about people like this is the gibberish and how they just ramble on and on. And then Loomis replies and he says, "You have nothing to worry about. He hasn't spoken in 15 years. So then Nurse Chambers then says, "Is there any special instructions?" And Loomis says, "Let's try to figure out what we're dealing with here. Don't underestimate it." And then Nurse Chambers says, "By it, don't you mean he?" Then Loomis goes, If you say so. And then Nurse Chambers then lights a smoke and asks Loomis, "What do I give him when I bring him in front of the church?" Mm-hmm. I think she says that. What do I give him when I bring him in front of the church? I think that's what she says. And he responds, "Thorazine." She then says, "He'll barely be able to sit up she says he'll barely be able to sit up, and then he responds, "That's the whole point." Yep. Then we get a random shot of Rabbit in Red match packet sitting on the dash. Just a camera shot of this pack of matches randomly, right? Okay. Remember that. So,
okay. I know where you're going with this already, but Kate, yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't have noticed it unless you would have said it. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Nurse Chambers then asks Loomis if he's serious about this, and then he says, "You never want him." Yeah, Nurse Chambers asks Loomis if he's serious about this, and then says, "You never want him to get him out. You never want him to get out." And he responds, "Never, never, never." Then she asks, "So why are we taking him to county?" And he says, "Because it's the law and they have to." Then we get a shot of a few, so they're driving, and then they say that, and then we get a shot of a few patients. It looks like a few patients in a field, as they're driving down the highway, they're talking, whatever, and then we get like a couple people in a robe in a field or something. And the infamous music starts. I think it's the theme. Yeah, it's the theme song. That's why I wrote in famous music. Then Loomis yells, "Go up to the main gate now." Then they get to the main gate. Nurse Chambers says, "Shouldn't we go up to the hospital?" Loomis cuts her off and yells, "Wait!" Loomis leaves the car and runs up to the shack. At the main gate, we get Nurse Chambers in the car by herself, and we see a patient jump on the car from the back. She turns around. We see someone jump over, like run up the back of the car, jump on top of the roof. Nurse Chambers opens the driver's side window to see what the noise was, and we see an arm come down and grab her through the window. She steps on the gas, and we see Loomis on the phone. She loses control of the car because she can't see, because this arm has her, like this, whatever. And then she takes her foot off the gas because she loses control and lands on the side of the road, kind of. She just kind of goes forward and kind of just goes up to the side a bit. Then he lets go, and she's kind of leaning in the passenger side window because she went from the driver's side. He lets go, and she jumps to the other side because the driver's side window is open, but the other one isn't. And then, one sec here, sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, she's leaning in the passenger side window, and we see his hand come down on the window behind her. So she's like leaning on the passenger window, but she's looking at the driver's side. And then the hand comes down behind her. And then she sees. Is this the part? Oh, yeah, I think. Okay, we're gonna have to revisit this, but I'm pretty sure this is the scene because I did correct it. So when the hand is coming down behind her, if you pause that scene, you'll see a wrench taped to Michael's hand.
Yes.
And he smashes the window with
the window.
With the wrench.
I did see. I did notice that. Yes.
Look at you go.
Eagle-eyed.
Yeah. And then, so she gets out of the car and runs away from the car, and we see this individual get in the car and drive off. Loomis then runs to her rescue and asks if she's all right, and she says yes, and then he replies, "He's gone, the evil is gone." Loomis then runs the other way as he's saying something, and then the camera cuts to a brand new day. And the title comes up and says Haddonfield, Halloween. So, now it's Halloween the next day. So it was probably late at night when
Shit's
that happened.
About to get real.
Yeah. It was late at night. Now it's It was late at night when he escaped. Now it's Halloween. Cameras started rolling around the neighborhood with some more Michael Myers music. Like I said, the way this movie was shot, the way they did all the camera work, everything, it's spectacular.
Very well done.
Yeah, very, very well done. Then we see Laurie Strode for the first time, played by young Jamie Lee Curtis. I think she was 17 in this movie.
It's definitely her first feature film.
Yeah. Yes. I think. Is it? I think
so. I'm pretty sure I read that.
Yeah. Okay. I should have researched that. I didn't. I know she's like 17 in this movie though. By the way, her mom is Janet Leigh from Psycho. I don't know if anyone knew that. Janet Leigh from Psycho, and she's actually in Halloween H2O with her mom, and the same car from Psycho with the same license plate Janet Leigh is driving in Halloween H2O. There's a couple Easter eggs there. I was going to talk about it on Halloween H2O, but we'll probably revisit it anyways. Why not?
Of course we will.
We can talk about the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then so Jamie Lee Curtis is walking down the sidewalk on her way to school. She leaves her house there, and then her dad comes out and says to her, "Don't forget to drop the keys off at the Myers house." She says, "I won't," and he says, "They're coming to look at the house at 10:30, so be sure to leave it under the mat." She says, "I promise." More of her walking in the neighborhood as the music keeps on going. She's walking, the music's going, beautiful Halloween vibe. Like, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell it's Halloween. It's the neighborhood's
And
all
it's spring when they
orange.
filmed this. So I mean, they did a very good job of
Oh, was it?
recreating.
Oh shit, good for
Yeah,
you. I didn't. I
yep.
didn't actually know that. I didn't realize
And
that. I
because
didn't.
of that, they had to hire people to spread leaves. And one of the people that they actually hired to spread leaves around was Robert Englund.
Really? No shit.
Apparently,
Cool.
apparently, I don't know how credible the source was, but I did read that in a few articles. So
Oh, that's cool,
it's
actually.
kind of
Yeah.
funny when you think about like how many references so far this early on, like 1978. You have Psycho because, like, in theory, Jamie Lee's mother was that actress, and
Yeah.
then Robert Englund before he became Freddy. Like,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Halloween
That's
didn't even
awesome.
know what they were up to, and look at what they created. Like you
Yeah. Look at
said,
what they. Yeah. Exactly. Look at what they
yeah,
started and what they,
yep,
continued on for the last, 40.
ever
Yeah,
as
45 years.
far
Like, yeah.
since 1978, this has been going on.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like this is
Exactly.
a movie that people will watch once a year, like no matter what. Like I know we all say like, "Oh, I watch that movie every year." I feel like at least one installment of Halloween gets watched by
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
majority of people on Halloween, like, or at least around that time, right?
Yes, definitely. Guaranteed, guaranteed everyone watches a Halloween movie, whether it's
Yep.
one or you could be like me and watch them all year round, watch all 12 of them all year round, except for
Doesn't
the
hurt.
couple you don't like.
Yep. Well, we're filming this before Halloween because Shaun has to go back to work, but I'm sure even though we've obviously watched this before to do this podcast, we'll likely be watching it on Halloween just because you have to.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
You have
Well,
to.
I'm not going to be home,
You're not
but
going to be home.
I'm going to come home and I'm going to watch it in November 7th because that's what I do,
Yep.
Well, it's Christmas. Well, I'll watch Halloween anyways. Well,
You got
I
to
can
do
watch
it.
Friday the 13th. Oh, it's
Yep.
raining out. Oh, it's perfect day for horror movies. Yeah, but so is winter. So is summer. So is my
Exactly.
birthday. Like, give me an
100%.
excuse. All right. So, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis or Laurie Strode is walking to school, and the music, just the score, the beautiful score, and then this young boy runs up to her. This would be Tommy Doyle. We learn later that Laurie babysits him, played by Brian Andrews, asking her if she's coming over again tonight and if they can make jack-o'-lanterns. And then keeps bugging her with a bunch more questions as they keep walking down the sidewalk. Music is still going. And then Tommy asks, why are they taking that way to go to school? And Laurie responds with, my dad asked me to because I need to drop a key off because he's going to sell the house because it's his job. And then Tommy says, where? And Laurie says, the Myers house. And then as they stop, at the Myers house, just right here. And then as Laurie is walking up the house, Tommy says, you shouldn't walk up to that house. It's the spook house. Laurie then says, just watch, as she walks up the stairs and puts it under the mat. As she is walking away from the house, we get heavy breathing and see a figure stand in front of the door window. Because they're like, it's a door, and then there's a little window in the middle of the door. So we get heavy breathing. Every time Michael's around, you're going to hear a lot of heavy breathing today.
Yep. This is a good opportunity to start a drinking game. Drink every time you hear heavy breathing.
Every time you hear heavy breathing, take a big drink or take a shot. That's perfect. Good. Touche.
Let us know how you make out with that.
Yeah. Send us a postcard or send us an email or something. Tommy then says to Laurie that his friend said awful stuff happened in that house. Tommy then says to Laurie, I'll see you tonight. As he walks away in another direction, Laurie continues walking as the camera's behind her, and we get more heavy breathing as a person pops out in the corner of the screen watching her walk away. Like, so the camera's behind her, and she's walking away, and then, blue coveralls, you kind of get his shoulder just peep in the little corner, right?
Yep.
Brilliant.
They definitely set up Tommy and Laurie's relationship to be so cute. She's very patient with him. Like,
yes.
It's
the chemistry, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
With the kids.
It's so cute.
Yes, with the kids and the adults, like Laurie, and then Annie and Lindsay Wallace. We'll introduce them after. Like they definitely set. It's a perfect tone, man. The relationships with the kids and the babysitters, the teenagers, like it's goes together.
The character development in that little scene with her just simply dropping off keys to the Myers house. They did just so much character development between them two right there. And how long was the scene?
Yeah, like just right there. The scene, the scene's like 12.
It wasn't that long of a scene.
Yeah, the scene I think is like 8 minutes. You know, and then they just random conversations about nothing, right?
It works. It's so cute.
That's what's important, like
exactly. And it's pretty natural too. Like it's pretty realistic because I feel like a lot of little kids do look up to their babysitter, like and try driving them crazy. Like why? What do you mean?
I did.
Like all those little stupid questions and stuff. Yes. Like she takes them gracefully.
Yeah.
That's Tommy. That's what my dad does. Like just
yeah. I know I annoyed my babysitter. Like, I had babysitters, I remember, like...
Yep.
So, after this happens, we get, the coveralls in the corner, we get kind of like a shoulder, and then it cuts to another scene. Loomis walks out of the doors of the hospital with someone else. As someone else and Loomis are talking, this person, I think he's the man, not the manager, but the head guy for the hospital. He says that he won't be he's saying something like he won't be responsible, and that everyone knew how dangerous this patient was, and they're blaming Loomis. He's like, I won't be responsible for what happens, and everyone knew how, even you knew how dangerous this patient was. Yep. And then he says, because he never told anyone. Yeah, he says, everyone knew you knew how dangerous this patient was, and I won't be responsible for what's about to happen. And you never told anyone. And then Loomis responds, I told everyone, but no one listened, and yells at him. Then this other guy says, there's nothing I can do. Loomis then says, then Loomis says that you can get back in there on the phone and tell everyone who broke out and where he's headed. Yep. This guy then looks at Loomis and says, Haddonfield is 150 miles away from here. Thinking like as if he would go that far, and then he can't even drive a car. And Loomis says he was doing fine just last night, right? When he took the car from Nurse Chambers. Exactly.
Because I think it's they basically insinuate like because he's been locked up all this time he wouldn't know how to drive a car.
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of like the popular thing. Like,
Yeah, and it's kind of weird too because you can say that too, right? Like who taught this guy ever to drive a car? You know what I mean? He was locked up for 15 years. How did this guy learn how to drive a car just out of the blue? But I think it's like a man's nature. Like they just know how to drive. I was just about to
say the same thing.
Well, there you go. So yeah, Loomis gets the car and drives off after he says, he was doing just fine last night. Then we get a scene of Laurie in her class. She's in the classroom. She then looks out the window and sees a Ford LTD station wagon, the car he stole from from Nurse Chambers last night.
This is a pretty infamous scene, isn't it? Like it's one that
the one
will come up. Like it's very popular.
Well, I wrote he stalks his victims. John Carpenter was brilliant with this in the background as well. Because every time, like the way they did this, like, it's not even focusing. There's scenes where it's not even focusing on the car and it's focusing on Laurie talking to Annie or something, and they're walking down the street. And if you pay attention, you can see that car just drive by. There. Yeah, you can just see it drive by, and the camera doesn't focus on it, right? Like that's where movies don't, or it's like
he's still lurking.
Yeah, it's it's like the scene where Annie's on the phone or Laurie's on the phone. You hear no music; it's silent. All you hear is Laurie or Annie talking on the phone, and the camera kind of follows them. And there's a window behind them, and all of a sudden you see Michael just standing there,
Yeah.
And whoa, you know what I mean? Like that's movies.
I know there's a lot of memes too, popular memes. That's the one with him by the hedge, where he's just like, then the other one is when Laurie is looking out the window, like you're describing right now. I know that's a very popular meme. I see it everywhere.
Oh yeah. The bush one and the
one
car
that,
one for sure
is relatable right now. It's like when you're approaching 30s. And like Michael Myers is like standing at the window staring at you. I could relate to that meme.
yeah. That's a good one. There's actually a few ones too. There's another one where it's Lori, and then Michael's behind her, and there's glass, and it says old people when the store opens at 7 a.m. and then it's Michael just standing there staring at her. Like I love. There's good memes.
Honestly, with what's going on right now with like TikTok and all the little memes, I'm so looking forward to when we do Saw, because the Jigsaw freaking memes right now are out of control.
Yes. Yes.
I've been living off of them for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen
treasure.
A few of them.
It's a treasure right now.
Yes. All right, so Lori looks outside and sees that car that Michael Myers stole from Nurse Chambers last night at the beginning of the movie.
Maybe it's Christine. Maybe it drives itself.
Yeah, it could be, right?
Right?
Because
maybe
I didn't, it's a Stephen King story, but like you said, good for touche. Like John Carpenter directed that movie.
Maybe there was something else happened there.
Yeah, exactly. You never know, right?
Partnered up.
Yeah, you never know. And then, anyway, so she looks down and then looks back up again, and it's still there. Then the teacher's going on about something, and then she answers the question and looks. She answers the question, and then looks back up. Like she looks, and then she looks down, and then she looks back up. The car's still there, and then the teacher's talking to her, so she turns her head, she starts talking, and then she looks back after she answers the question. The car's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bell rings, and kids start running outside, and then we see Tommy walking with a pumpkin in the schoolyard. Looks like Tommy is being bullied. They're saying stuff about the boogeyman. Bugging him. The boogeyman's going to get you. The boogeyman's going to get you. We'll later on learn who these people are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they become relevant in later installments, too. Like, that's the one cool thing with this franchise is they do, they bring up old characters.
Yeah, they do. They continue. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like, okay, a brand new cast of characters. Like, hey, I remember him. He was from part 2, or he was from part 1. Or, okay, now,
I find that relevant because in popular franchises, like, I know for The Walking Dead, I had a really hard time when it wasn't the originals anymore. Like, when they were talking about irrelevant people, I was like, I don't really fucking care, Yeah. Whereas if you kind of bring in, like, old connections and stuff, it's like, hey, like, he hasn't been around in a couple of years, but at least he was there at the beginning, So I find that pretty cool.
No, it's good when they do that.
For sure.
Yeah, it's good when they do that. For sure. Okay, so, so they're saying stuff about the boogeyman, bugging him, and then they trip him, and then he breaks his pumpkin. Then one of the kids...
obviously, those kids don't know how much of a bad bitch Tommy's babysitter is, clearly.
Yeah, not at all.
Don't go there.
No, not at all. And then, so after they trip him, he breaks his pumpkin, one of the kids that trips Tommy starts running away. And so he trips Tommy breaks his pumpkin, and then he runs away, and as he's running away, all of a sudden, he stops, and someone stops him, blue coveralls. We assume it's Michael. He stops the kid in his dead tracks, and then
doesn't the kid kind of go like a slow look up like that?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
This is why we're partners.
I think that kind of gives you from like the kid's point of view too, like how startled he was, like holy shit,
No, exactly, right. It's like, whoa, like who? Okay,
It paints how intimidating of a figure, of a shape, Michael Myers is.
Yes, the shape. Good call. Because a lot of people don't call him the shape no more. Good for you.
Oh, also, before you continue, it was actually Michael Myers' birthday 3 days ago. I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. How old was he? 56, 57 or something like that?
66.
Oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah, October 19th, 1957.
Looking good for his age.
Well, I mean, with a mask.
And on that mask, too, it's, I guess, William Shatner.
Yes, actually. So, Good. Thanks for bringing that up. So, this is,
in case people were wondering like what the mask was, because I know we talked about Ghostface's mask last week.
It's simple. Like I said, this movie was simple. It was very. It's less is more. It's simple. They literally took William Shatner, and they paint, made it white, got rid of the eyebrows. You know what I mean? Made and just made it look so terrifying, but plain and simple.
They didn't take a Tommy Jarvis special or anything. No, it wasn't one of those high end masks.
With all the thanks for bringing that up. That's William Shatner.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, that's
I don't think he was a big fan of them using that mask. Apparently.
Oh, really? I do
have a piece of trivia. I do. We may as well say it now. So Jamie Lee Curtis said in interviews that William Shatner was initially not happy with his likeness was used to be the mask of this demonic and hideous serial killer. He sued for past royalties. I don't know how factual this actually is.
Okay.
They settled out of court. Shatner donated the settlement to charity. Ironically, the case could have been easily dismissed because the mask was actually a likeness of Captain Kirk, which was a character that Shatner played. So that wasn't his rights, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. It was Captain Kirk, but yeah.
It would be like whoever they used for the Purge mask. That's my example because I have one. It wouldn't be their it's not theirs.
It's not theirs. It's the person they're playing in the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
no shit.
Yeah.
No, thanks. No, thanks for bringing that up. That's actually good bringing that up there. Because some people. I mean, if you're a horror fan, you know that it was based off William Shatner, or should I say, Captain Kirk. I would personally
never recognize William Shatner. Like, I would have never been like, "Oh, look at William Shatner."
No, I know, right? Like. It
could have been different back in 1978, because obviously Captain Kirk was probably really popular around this time, or at least before. So maybe it would have been a little bit more noticeable. I went right over me.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks for bringing that up, though. Glad we talked about that. So as he stops the kid, Tommy's getting up and starts walking, across the field, and there's a fence. Michael starts following Tommy from behind the fence, couple feet away, or 20 feet away or something. There's a fence, so he's walking slowly behind the fence, but he can see Tommy. Music, iconic theme song comes on again. We then see Michael get in the car, and he follows Tommy from a distance. He then pulls up beside Tommy slowly, heavy breathing, and watches him for a few minutes, as he's driving beside him. Tommy doesn't look beside him at all, He's just a kid being a kid.
He's a little boy.
Yeah, and then we get this heavy breathing, and Michael's just kind of slowly driving beside him, watching him. And then Michael drives off.
Do you think he had intentions? I don't think that this Michael Myers had those intentions. I think he was trying to use him to get to Laurie.
Oh, that's my perception of it. No. Michael, Jason, they don't kill kids. Yes. You know what I mean?
Freddy's the guy who
Freddy's the guy because he originally was a kid killer. That's why the parents killed him. He was actually a child murderer, but raped the kids, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, he was a predator. Yeah, so it's like the story behind Freddy is traumatizing and very terrifying. I just never found him scary. I don't know. I don't find him scary. I find someone
in the nightmare realm, right? Like he was probably more scary realistically before he turned into Freddy.
Yeah,
to me, before he did all that, those one-liners and shit.
Yes, I just find the emotionless face or hiding behind a mask. I find masks more terrifying.
You don't know what's underneath.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what's underneath, right? Like. Jason and Michael.
It could be a 6-year-old kid, like at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. Or it could be,
Yeah, it could be anyone, right? Or it could be a deformed person, like Jason, or a zombie. Exactly. Jason's a zombie, right? Like, after part 6.
Yep. It leaves it to your, perception. Like, what could it be underneath there?
No, exactly. You never know, right?
Yep.
Whereas, if you see a face, well, you already know what it is, right? So your
Look at
imagination.
Scooby Doo. How many times do they unmask that villain and you're like, oh, I would have never thought.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Your imagination is the best terrifying thing in the world. If you have a
exactly.
terrifying, if
Absolutely.
you have a scary imagination like we do, you're
Yep.
gonna sit there and you're gonna think the worst of the worst, and you're gonna be like,
And
okay, like
Freddy doesn't really have that because he does it for you. Like, you don't really get to use your imagination because
no,
all this stuff's happening on screen.
yes,
That's like, holy, that's a
yes,
lot.
yes,
Like,
yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
whereas, like you said, simple. Halloween is very simple.
No,
Freddy's very
exactly.
over the top. Michael Myers is very simple.
Yeah, no, exactly. Freddy's over the top. That's the perfect way to say it. Freddy's
And it
over the
works for
top.
both of them. It works for both of them. And Jason kind of falls into, I'd say, the Michael Myers category, where he's also
Yes.
very simple. He's a
Yeah,
very
he's
simple
just
man.
walking shit brick house, and he just chop, kill.
They listen to Leonard Skinner's Simple Man on their spare time. That's
Yeah,
what motivates them and gets them going.
yeah, yeah,
It's their drive.
yeah. That gets them going for sure. All right, so after Michael drives off, we then see Loomis talking on a payphone. 1978. There's payphones still. There was
Yep.
no cell phones then. Uh,
Yep.
he's saying on the cell. He's saying on the cell phone. He's saying on
Which
the
obviously, because there's no cell phones, that adds more horror to these movies, because it's not like, oh shit, I'm in trouble, let me just call the cops. Oh shit, I'm in trouble, let me just
yes,
call my boyfriend, my
yes,
mom.
exactly. You need
It's
to get to a phone with a cord that's plugged in
it's
somewhere.
flight or fight,
Yeah,
basically.
if you're in the middle of nowhere, well, you're screwed.
Exactly, 100%. Whereas now it's like flight, fight, or phone.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
take your pick.
basically, yeah, basically. Um, yeah, so Loomis is saying he's coming to Haddonfield. You gotta believe me, Sheriff. He was my patient. Then Loomis says, if you don't believe me, it's your funeral, and hangs up the phone. Then
And why
he's,
wouldn't they believe him? I don't understand why they always doubt Loomis. They could have prevented so much if they would have just listened to that man.
well,
But again,
yeah,
it could have been over in
yeah,
5 minutes.
it could have been over in 5 minutes, right?
100%.
Yeah, it could have been over in 5 minutes. It's a
But
movie,
they're
right?
so
You gotta
worried about
keep.
liability. Just listen to the goddamn man then. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, Loomis, we'll get to that later, but Loomis keeps
yep,
insisting, and they doubt him, and then finally,
yep,
well, a movie, eventually cry wolf, cry wolf, cry wolf. Well, eventually it's going to happen, if you keep crying wolf, people aren't going to believe you, but if you're
100%.
actually, or it's reversed, where you are, like if you're actually crying wolf, like it's actually there, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And people don't believe you, well, eventually, they're going to believe you because it's actually going to become something.
I feel like a good example for that would be like Stu Mocker, just because I'm saying this because we just discussed this, so you guys would have just watched this with us. He's over the top. So if he's saying the house is on fire, how many people are actually going to believe the house is on fire?
Yeah.
Shut up, Stu.
Yeah,
Just because
exactly.
of the way that it's his character.
The way he portrays himself. Yeah, exactly, because he's a joker, right? Like,
whereas if Sydney runs out of the house saying the house is on fire, like she was so calm demeanored, chances are the house would have been on fire.
yes, no, exactly, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so after he hangs up the phone, then he steps out of the phone booth and sees a red truck in the bush. He walks over to it, music starts, and finds a white gown hanging on a tree. Also finds one or two in the truck, and then he finds that red pack of matches that say Rabbit in Red on the ground.
Can I just ask a question?
Yep.
Is that not the strip club that Sherry Moon works at in Rob Zombie's installments? Isn't it called Red Rabbit
no
or
way.
something? Or Rabbit?
I didn't even think
Am I
about
wrong?
that. No, I don't think you are. I think you're right. That's actually awesome. I didn't even.
It would be, I think, in number 1 and 2.
Yeah,
I know in 2 you see it more because there's like killing that happens in Halloween 2.
That's actually
I'm pretty sure it's Red Rabbit or something.
I'm gonna actually find that out, and I'm gonna message you because I don't want to pause this while I'm searching.
No, 100%.
But I think you're right. That's why, like, you see my
Here, I'll do it
expression.
for you. You can keep going, and I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that works. So he grabs it and runs back to his car, the pack of matches. The camera slowly turns the other direction. You see a little bit of a body in the bush in long grass. So like, he goes and sees the gowns. He picks up the matches. It's focusing on him. And then as he's walking, it was
the rabbit, the rabbit in red lounge.
Nice.
Good job, Rob Zombie.
Yes.
Good job,
Brittany. Yes.
Oh yeah, that too.
That was awesome. No, that's why I was so like, oh my god, I think you're right. No, that was awesome. That was awesome though. Yeah, so
I wish I remembered actual relevant important things, but instead I remember movie shit.
A match.
This is why I'm here.
That's a strip club. Yeah. That's still, those are the little things that people don't see. When they're watching stuff like this, right?
When you're trying to fall asleep and it's like, ding, oh, that movie poster in this movie was like, save me, send help.
No, exactly. All right, so when Loomis runs over, so like the camera's focused on him. He's grabbing the gowns. He sees the gowns, whatever, and then he grabs the match pack, and then he runs back to his car or his truck, whatever he's driving, and then the camera is focused on him, and the camera does like a slight move like this, and then you see a body in the bushes in the long grass. We don't know who it is. It's just a body there. Then it cuts to another scene. After it shows the dead body, and then boom, it cuts to another scene. Laurie's walking outside at school with her friend Linda Van Der Klok. Yeah, Linda Van Der Klok, played by PJ Souls. There's cheerleading in the background as they're walking. Linda's discussing cheerleading, and she's telling Laurie, typical, she's got to do her hair by 5, the dance is at 8, and and then and she's got to learn new cheer tricks.
The real issue of the movie is they need enough time to get ready for wherever they're going tonight. Not that there's a serial killer running around.
Yes. More,
100%.
More character building. You're like,
it's definitely built up for Laurie to be like the calmer one of her friends. Also in this installment.
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely.
The friends are pretty haywire, where she's more the calm, collected, more thoughtful. I feel.
Yeah, innocent, innocent.
Exactly, innocent, that's a good word. Innocent,
innocent, yeah. And then, so she's like, I gotta do my hair by 5, and the dance is at 8, I gotta learn new cheer practices. And then Laurie responds, I don't think you'll have enough time to do that tonight. Then we get a random shot of a sign.
Because you're gonna be getting killed.
Yeah. And then we get, the camera's focused on them, and then they walk by they're discussing things, and then the camera pauses. The camera pauses at a school sign. It says Haddonfield High School. It says tickets on sale. Call 799-6861. We then get the girls walking down the sidewalk. I'm actually going to say that that sign, the random spot of that sign, I don't recall it being in the original after. Like, I don't recall it coming back in the picture like the matches. I did write it with a question mark, and I don't know. I got a lot of stuff written down, so maybe I'll figure it out. But when I was watching it, I didn't figure it out. Maybe it's in part 2. Maybe it's in a later one,
That's interesting. That's something else to look into.
Yeah, like you said, because in the older movies, they zoom in on something randomly because most of the time it's relevant. It's going to pop back
up matches, somewhere. For example.
Yeah. So, we then get the girls walking down the sidewalk, and then we get another girl running behind them saying, "Why didn't you wait for me?" This is Annie Brackett, played by Nancy Louise Keys. A lot of people call her Nancy Loomis, by the way. That's what she goes by. And if you type in Nancy Loomis in the Google search bar, Billy Loomis's mother comes up in the picture. But so does Nancy Louis Kays or Kays.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
like think about that though. Her, people call her Nancy Loomis, Dr. Loomis. You know what I mean? Billy Loomis,
Well, I
right? There's a
guarantee
couple
you Scream probably made Billy's mother that on purpose. As like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I wouldn't be
That's
surprised.
Yeah, you know what? Now you're talking. That's
I wouldn't
probably
be
what
surprised.
happened. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And then they say, we did for 15 minutes and you never showed.
Mhm.
And he then replies, yes, and they keep walking. And he's furious, I guess. She said, she's all like, oh, Paul dragged me into the boys' locker room. And they're just being girls discussing girl stuff. That's what I wrote, question mark. And then Linda says, Lori, Linda says, Lori, the only reason, oh yeah, Linda says to Lori, the only reason Annie babysits is so that she can have a place to, and then Lori cuts her off. As we know what she was going to say, because we learn later, why is she babysitting? Lori cuts her off. As they're discussing the fact that Lori forgot her chemistry book back at school, we then see that Ford LTD station wagon come around the corner. Theme song starts again. Lori knows the car because it was outside her classroom earlier in the day. One of the girls says, hey, isn't that Devin Graham? Lori says, I don't think so. And then one of the other girls says, I think he's cute. I think who said I think he's cute is Linda. And then as the car drives past them, you kind of see someone looking out the window from the driver's side. Like, the car drives by and then he kind of does this. Just weird, right? And then Annie yells, hey, jerk, speed kills. Then the car comes to an abrupt stop. The girls look all scared and tension builds for a second. Annie then says, God, can't you take a joke? The car then drives off, and Lori then says to Annie, one day, you're going to get us into deep trouble. And then Annie says, I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor. Annie then asks Linda, are they still on for tonight? I wouldn't want to get you in trouble. Linda says Bob and her have been planning on it all week. Annie says the Wallaces leave at 7, and Lori says, I'm babysitting the Doyles. It's only 3 houses down, so we can keep each other company. Then Annie responds with a funny comeback. Oh, perfect. We got 3 choices. Watch the kids sleep, listen to Linda screw, or talk to you. Yeah. She says, Annie says, oh, perfect. I got 3 choices. Watch the kids sleep, listen to Linda screw, or talk to you. They walk away as the camera drifts off and music starts again. We then see the girls walking, discussing the night tonight, and Linda walks off to go home. Just Andy and Lori walking now, and we get a shot of that guy in blue coveralls wearing a white mask. Obviously, it's the killer at this point. Kind of half behind the bush in front of them. Everyone's seen that
That's
infamous picture.
Yep.
Famous, you know what I mean? Meme. Lori notices him, but Annie doesn't because she's looking through her bag. Yep. And then this guy just goes back behind the bush after a second, and then Lori tells Annie, look behind the bush. And he says, I don't see anything. And then Lori implies that the guy, so go look behind the bush. There's someone there. Annie then walks up to the bush, she says, I don't see anything. And then Lori implies that it's the guy that drove by them earlier that was driving fast. That was the guy that drove past us earlier. And he then thinks she's overreacting. Okay, sorry, I said that wrong. Okay, so Lori tells Annie, look behind the bush. Annie says, I don't see anything. And then Lori implies that it's the guy that drove by them earlier that was driving fast. Annie then thinks she's overreacting and then goes and looks behind the bush. And no one is there. Annie is joking, telling Lori he wants to take her out tonight. He's stalking you. He just wants to take you on a date. He wants to take you out tonight. Lori walks up to the bush and sees no one is there also. And then says he was standing right there. And he then says, oh, Lori, scared another one away. And he starts bugging Lori because she never goes out. She's, she doesn't go out anywhere. She doesn't do anything. And he says Lori is now wacko because she sees men behind bushes. And he then goes home. Lori is walking by herself, looking behind her, and then she runs into Sheriff Brackett. Annie's dad, we learned that later, played by Charles Cyphers. They're talking, and Sheriff says iconic quote because Lori's looking behind her as she's walking, and then she bumps into him, and he scares her by accident. And then Sheriff Brackett goes, "It's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare." That's a famous quote. I love that quote. I might get that tattooed somewhere because I love it. That's like you're gonna need a bigger boat. You know what I mean? That's
exactly 100%. I get it.
And then Lori says, "Yeah, everyone's entitled to one good scare." I think they talk for a few minutes or something, and then Lori walks away and says, "Nice to see you, sir." Then it shows Lori arriving at home, and you hear someone kind of scream in terror, "Oh no!" You know, she's in front of her house. Lori then walks the other way to go check. You know, she goes to walk up to her house, but then she hears, "Oh no." So then she starts walking away from her house again down the sidewalk. And then she just discovers it's a bunch of kids trick-or-treating. She then speaks to herself. "Well, kiddo, thought you outgrew superstition." Then she walks into her house, notices her bedroom window is open, walks up to the window to close it, looks outside and sees this man again in a mask who she's been seeing all day, Michael, most likely, behind sheets that are hanging. Yeah, he's standing there, sheets are on a clothesline, and the wind's blowing, and he's kind of just standing there.
And that scene's recreated in so many movies.
Yes,
yes. With the sheets.
Yes. Yeah, it does. They recreate that scene in so many, and that's also a meme as well.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. I've seen that one a few times.
Yeah. So, the music starts because every time this man appears, there's always some kind of music or a score. You know, the three. There's one of them. One of the three. Then he disappears, and she lets the window fall, startling her. And the phone rings. Lori answers the phone, and no one is there. "Hello?" Hangs up the phone. The phone rings again. She picks up, and it's Annie asking why she hung up on her. "And why'd you hang up on me?" Lori says, "I didn't hear anything." And Annie says her mouth was full. I think that's what she says. Annie says she'll pick Lori up at 6:30. "I'll pick you up at 6:30. I'll be at your house at 6:30. Lori lays on her bed, telling herself, "Relax, calm down." You know, she lays on her bed for a few minutes. And then she walks outside her house and grabs a pumpkin. She then walks down the sidewalk a bit and sits on the corner and starts looking around at all the kids trick-or-treating. This is another scene I love. I just love the way it was shot. You know, she walks down the sidewalk, she sits on the corner, and then it just has her looking at the neighborhood, all the kids trick-or-treating. I just love the way it was shot, the way they did that.
Absolutely. They're really good with their wide shots here. Like they're,
yes,
I want to call them panoramic. I'm not a filmmaker, but I'm
we both called it panoramic. Yeah. Okay, we're not even halfway done the movie yet, guys. Then a car pulls up, and it's Annie. So we know it's close to 6:30. Or, you know, "Hey, yep. Annie." Yeah, she says, "Oh, it's 6:30. Yeah, we know it's close to 6:30, right?" Lori gets in the car and they drive off. Cuts to another scene, and we get Loomis with, I guess this other guy he's with is in charge of the cemetery. Yes, that's right. He's the gatekeeper or whatever. He's reminiscing and talking about Judith Myers, and Loomis asks, "Where are we? Where are we going?" This other guy, actor by the name of Arthur Mallet. Yes, he's a graveyard keeper, Arthur Mallet. I went right into this. I know all the actors who played who. I went right into this because I had to. I didn't even introduce Nick Castle is Michael Myers. I didn't introduce that. He is Michael Myers. He only played Michael Myers once. I don't know why. He's everyone's favorite Michael Myers. James Jude Courtney did Michael Myers in the trilogy. I love his performance in 2018 and Kills. There's that one scene in Kills, and it's really iconic. I love it. It's when there's that couple, the black lady and the older guy.
Yep.
And
she's the graveskeeper in it.
Oh, really?
I think she's the graveskeeper in it, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I
Yeah,
will have to go back and check that, I guess. But
yeah.
no, so James Jude Courtney, we're still talking about Halloween. There's one scene in Halloween Kills where he stabs her in the neck with the light bulb, but then she's sitting down on the ground, bleeding out, and James Jude Courtney is just going back and forth, and he's grabbing a knife each time and he's stabbing him, and then he goes back again and he grabs another one and he stabs him again, and it's almost like he's trying to figure out what knife stabs the
He
best.
wants to exactly.
Like that was like Halloween Kills. They did so many amazing things in that movie, but the
I agree.
dialogue and the characters are god awful, and the writing, a lot of the
Evil
writing,
dies tonight.
like, oh my god, a lot of the writing, like there's I can even get into this too. I'll get into this because it's
Like
Halloween.
50% of it is literally them chanting
Yes.
"Evil dies tonight." I swear.
And there's one scene too, like what's her name, the niece of Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, the niece. She's standing in the morgue in the hospital, and the curtains are open, and there's a bunch of dead bodies laying there. Like, when do they ever do that in a hospital? With the windows open and you can see all the dead bodies, like, you know what I mean? There was so many mistakes in that movie. Like the first 45 minutes, like that fireman scene, that was amazing. Like I watched the first 45 minutes of that movie and I thought that was going to be one of the best Halloween movies ever. And then as you go on, it gets worse and worse. There's that stupid cliche, this is for Dr. Loomis, and she pulls the trigger and there's no bullets. Wow. You know what I mean? Like,
of course there's not. Like
there was
no,
so
100%.
many, and then there's the Easter eggs with the three masks of, the kids on the carousel. Those are all masks from Halloween season 3, or season of the witch, Halloween 3.
Yep.
Like, there was so many things they did so good, but
Jamie Lee Curtis, I should say, Laurie and Michael kind of like switched spots to the point where like she was stalking him.
Yes,
and that was cool
that
too.
was awesome. Like, there was so many things, but like, and the more I watch it, the more like the score is amazing in that movie. Like, I had the soundtrack on Spotify because the score is amazing. The different tones that they used to do the Michael theme song, it was like there was like I was so disappointed with. The more I watch it, the more I see the mistakes that they did, and just them thinking that this short fat guy is Michael, like, and you know what I mean? He jumps and then he's holding hands with Laurie's niece. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, it was, oh my god, it was god awful, man.
Exactly. You could say it's the equivalent to like how Rob Zombie, like, basically by the end of his second installment of it, like Scout Compton Taylor's character is like,
she turns into
there's a white horse. Mama is back.
Like that was weird. Like,
Mama Myers is all of a sudden back from the dead, dressed in white, all beautiful like an angel. I don't know. It's
it was like, weird. Hobo Michael and stuff, like, whatever. It's Rob Zombie. He gets interviewed and he doesn't care what people say about it. He's like, this was my picture of the Halloween. This is how I interpret
that's his style.
It.
Sorry, style is the word I'm looking for. That's totally, and it is his style. Look at the Three from Hell. Look at
I love
House of Corpses.
House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, both are in my top 20. House of a Thousand Corpses I like more, just because.
If you thought that you were going to get a PG installment when Rob Zombie's name got associated with the remake, like, you're completely wrong. You knew exactly what to expect when he put his hands on it.
Yes, yes.
It was bound to get weird because that's his thing.
Yeah, no, his movies do get weird.
It was just not my cup of tea. I do love Rob Zombie's shit. Like, I'm a huge fan of him, but when it came to Halloween 2, it was just not the direction I liked. But still watch it. Don't get me wrong.
I don't know why he used. It wasn't even the same kid. You know what I mean? It was like
I think he grew up too quick. I think that was the problem. Was he grew up too quick?
Okay, that probably makes sense. But no, there's one scene in that movie that I love, and it's the hospital scene where he stabs the nurse like 25 times. in H2, Rob Zombie's H2, and he just stabs her, and it's so aggressive. I love it, but
I'm gonna have to go back to that. The one thing that stands out for me is Annie's death because of the way that like Sheriff Brackett finds her.
Oh,
and he's just like,
yes. It's so heart wrenching. Yes, no,
it is.
Yes.
It is. It's disgusting because like she's naked, she's full of blood, like and that's her dad, and he's just like my baby or something like that.
Yes. That was honestly when I seen that I was like, oh my god, like
they do some things really well.
Yeah,
Rob Zombie is fantastic when it comes to character development. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Good.
He's also fantastic when it comes to weird.
Good call on that. He is amazing with character development. He is.
He really is.
He is amazing with character development, man. He's very, very good. Like, and some people don't like his movies, which is cool. He doesn't give a shit, right? The guy's all time.
He really doesn't.
The guy's all time. He's a movie director, and Sid Haig, Captain Spaulding, is one of the biggest horror icons, clowns of all time. Unfortunately, I never got to meet him. I got an action figure of him still in the box. I heard
he was a really down-to-earth actor. I heard he was a really good guy, like a solid guy.
Yeah, I've heard that too, yeah. And Bill Moseley, the wife met Bill Moseley. Apparently he's a really nice guy too. I got the picture of him hanging on the wall. I got his autograph. He's a really, really, I like him.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, I like him in the movies. But actually, you know what? I'm just gonna grab that.
Yeah, I'll grab it, of course. There you go. Yeah. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's so. I do have a few ones, not me, but Rox went to do it for me because I couldn't go. So regardless, it's a picture of her with this actor, but it still says to Shaun. You know what I mean? So it's whatever. It's better than nothing, right? Like. And it's
your other half, so in theory, it's still relevant, right?
No, exactly, right? She met them 100%. All secretly. I met them,
If Jeff met someone, because Jeff has no knowledge when it comes to celebrities, so if he met someone and he came home and he was like, "Yeah, I met," I know, for example, Kim Coates, the guy who plays Tig in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
he was in
my favorite character, by the way.
Right? Like, of course that would be. He's a phenomenal actor. He's a great actor on other movies as well. If Jeff would have came home saying I met Kim Coates?
Kim Coates, yes. Kim Coates.
I would have been insulted. I would be like, no, you didn't. I did. Like, don't tell people you met him. Tell people we met him. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, 100%. I understand. We could just roll with it. As far as I'm concerned, you guys met all these people at your conventions.
Yeah, it's actually funny too because I was hoping for my new job. I'm leaving tomorrow. I was really trying to take 1 week off and then go to this one because there's another Comic-Con next weekend, and you've seen me posting. Devin Sawa is going. Nick Castle is going. The LTD Ford station wagon from Halloween 78 is going. Ron Perlman and Kim Coates are going. You know what I mean?
So cool.
Yeah, and I wanted to go so bad, but you know what?
I listened to him and Theo Rossi, so Juice's character in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
They have a podcast, and they revisit all of the episodes together. So they talk about behind the scenes and just everything that happened on set. I watched they do all episodes, so
is that
literally there's
Kim
7
Coates
seasons.
And okay, Kim Coates and
and that's part of the reason why I got into this podcast stuff, because it's literally two men who have something in common that just keep going back and forth with each other. And I don't know.
No,
there's 7 seasons of Sons, so I watched literally 7 seasons worth of their podcast. And
yeah. No, that's
if
cool.
you ever get a chance, listen to them. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I just did Talking Sopranos. 2 cast members from Sopranos actually just did podcast reviewing every single episode.
Probably the exact same
it's the same thing.
The exact same thing.
Podcasts are massive now. Celebrities do it. You know what I mean? It's and like you said, they have something in common. We have something in common. We'll just go back and forth,
And
about movies.
I know that Sopranos and Sons of Anarchy, like, they ended up with, like, almost like a cult following. Like, there's a lot of people who love them.
But same with Breaking Bad.
So when you listen to them talk about, like, season 1, like, on this episode, it was hot. You could actually see a mosquito fly by me, and I'm doing my best to make sure that, not to break character. And you could actually go back and you could see it playing out, and it's like, I don't know. I enjoy stuff like that. When Kim Coates is talking about that black fly scene I'm using as an example, it was actually in Sudbury.
Because they came to Sudbury,
because yes, and he said, like, Sudbury is the worst place for mosquitoes, blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh my god, tell me about it, like, fucking relatable. Like, so I don't know, I like that shit. So just like Sopranos, I'm sure you recommend that. I recommend the Sons one.
For sure, I'm gonna have to look into that.
I recommend ours first.
Yes,
watch us first,
listen to ours before any other podcast ever.
But it goes to show, if you tell a good story on screen, people will follow you forever.
No, yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. 100%. Yeah. So, I guess we ventured off a little bit there. That's cool, though.
Where are we at this point?
Oh, we're at, Loomis is walking with the cemetery guy, right? And then he's reminiscing.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he's talking about Judith Myers, and Loomis asks, "Where are we? Where are we? Where are we going? Where are we? Where are we going?" This other guy, actor by the name of Arthur Mallet, he's the graveyard keeper, mentions something about a little boy. Then they stop, and Loomis thinks they're lost. And then we see a missing gravestone. The graveyard keeper insists it's kids doing a Halloween prank. Loomis asks him, whose gravestone is it? And then he goes through the list. He's counting numbers. And he responds, Judith Myers. Then Loomis replies, he came home. And then that's all it says. And then it cuts to a different scene.
It's so haunting.
Yeah.
He came home.
Donald Pleasance, oh my god, his performance, man, oh man, like, and even...
I was really worried with all the new installments of Halloween. That's one character that they could cast very well.
They didn't, that's one thing I didn't like. They didn't have a Loomis in the
new.
No, they didn't. That actually, that's one thing I will say about Halloween Kills. That flashback scene to 1978 where they actually had someone look like Loomis, and the way they made it look like 78, like, how do you do something so brilliant?
How do you recreate something like that so many years later?
Yeah, but then...
I think the reason why they might not have featured him in the 2018 timeline is, do you think they were going to get lucky enough to get a third actor to portray Loomis as as Donald
Malcolm
Pleasant?
McDowell
and then,
was awesome.
Exactly.
Malcolm McDowell, I love him. He was great. A lot of people were
probably doubting his performance going into it, even though he's such a good actor. They were probably like, this is Sam Loomis. Like, but he kicked ass.
No, he did. Yeah, McDowell was awesome. I love him as Loomis. Yes. Honestly, he's almost as good as Donald Pleasance. I might get a couple curse words thrown at me for saying that.
I agree. I would compare them to. It's
he's
the character
really
development that
he's
John
really
Carpenter has and Rob Zombie has.
Yes,
they both excel, obviously,
on character
when
development.
It comes to creating. Exactly.
Yeah. So so after he says he came home, and he came home,
Yep.
Then we get goes to another
not
scene.
overdone.
Yeah. No, not at all. Just
no. Literally, it wasn't, oh my god, he came home dramatics, hysterics. It was just
then we get Annie and Laurie driving in Annie's car. They're smoking a joint. Annie's bugging Laurie about seeing this guy all day, being spooked. Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult is playing in the radio, in the car.
I forgot to mention this, but I'm pretty sure it plays in Scream when Billy goes in Sydney's room at the beginning of the movie, right after Casey gets killed, and she's in her room, and I'm pretty sure there's a version of Don't Fear the Reaper that's playing.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's that screen, that's that scene offhand, but I'm pretty freaking sure, and that would obviously be a subtle throwback to Halloween.
Yes. We'll have to revisit
and that's a banger. Don't Fear the Reaper is a banger.
Oh yeah, it's a good tune.
It's overused in a lot of movies, but not this one. This is the one where I think it's most recognized from.
Well, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, but Halloween. I think this is the first movie that actually used that song.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
I would not be that surprised.
I think, like I said, don't quote me because I didn't research it, but I haven't watched a horror movie before Halloween 78 that actually had that song. All the movies that have that song are after Halloween 78. So, I mean, that says, you know what I mean? That says something. I've seen a lot of horror movies, you know?
100%.
Yeah, so, they're smoking a joint. Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult is playing in the background, you know, and the camera's kind of looking at the front of them as they're smoking the joint. And then we see the Ford LTD station wagon following them behind, you know, and they have no clue, right? This is kind of something where it's in the background and you got to notice it because the camera's not focused on what's behind them. It's focused on them. You know, the way this movie was shot again. Annie asks Lori, what's the pumpkin for? Lori then replies she bought it for Tommy. Annie continues
because a pumpkin got wrecked.
Yes. Yeah, see, that's...
See, good babysitter. Yes, and a character development.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so, Annie continues to bug Lori, saying she would make a fabulous Girl Scout as she passes the joint back to Lori. As Annie and Lori are having a conversation, still smoking the joint, you can still see the station wagon in the back window following them. Then Annie freaks out because she sees her dad stopped on the road in front of them. You know, he's at a...
He's a cop.
Yeah, he's at a not a hardware store, but like a... Let's just use Spirit Halloween. You know what I mean? He's at a Spirit Halloween, but it's not Spirit Halloween. It's a different Halloween store.
Haddonfield Halloween.
Yeah. I said Spirit Halloween because I love Spirit Halloween.
I've been there like 5 times. I'm not allowed. Jeff has made it clear I'm not welcome back in that store until next year. I've exceeded my limit.
Yeah, so they get rid of the joint. She freaks out. She's like, oh, my dad. Then we see the station wagon pull up to the sidewalk and stops on the side behind them. Annie and Lori stop to see her dad, and Lori's coughing her brains out as the alarm is going off for the store. They pull up and Annie asks her dad what happened. And he blames it on kids playing a Halloween prank once again. Her dad then says, well, yeah. So Annie's like, what happened, Dad? Oh, just some kids, you know, playing a Halloween prank. You know, a bunch of masks were stolen along with a rope and some knives. You
just
know,
some sadistic shit going on, you know, nothing to be worried about.
Yeah, right? A rope and masks and knives. They then have a quick, funny convo and then take off. We then get Dr. Loomis walking up to Sheriff Brackett as he introduces himself. This is, you know, Loomis is on the sidewalk where, you know, Sheriff Brackett is attending this case, you know, the broken into Halloween
investigating.
Store. Yeah. You know, he introduces himself. Hi, my name is Dr. Loomis, Samuel Loomis, you know, and he asks to have a chat for a minute. It's important. Then Sheriff implies he has 10 minutes. He says, yeah, I got 10 minutes. Then we get Lori. We get Lori and Annie in their car for a scene. And Lori is worried about Annie's dad knowing they were high. Oh, I think your dad knows. And Annie tries to convince Lori, no, he always looks like that. He knows. He always looks like that. That's how he looks naturally. They're talking about the dance the next night, and then Lori confesses she has a crush on Ben Tramer. And Annie gets all hyped up and says, I knew it! As they keep driving, the station wagon starts following them again. Theme song starts. Lori and Annie then pull off to the side, and as camera is basically inside of the front, so it's in front of Michael's car. They pull over, it's in front of Michael's car, and it's dark out by this time. It's staring at the back of their car. We see Lori get out and walk into a house. It's Tommy Doyle's house. We then watch the car pull off into a driveway, you know, goes up and just pulls off into the driveway. Yeah. And as the car pulls off to the other driveway, the camera's in the station wagon still, and it's moving. So Michael, the car is driving. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it drives past the driveway where Annie pulled into, and then pulls off to the side. Michael then gets out of the car, heavy breathing, as the kids are saying trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat. Then he watches Annie from a distance walk up to a house and knock on the door. Guy answers the door. It's the father of the little girl that Annie is babysitting, Lindsay Wallace, played by Kyle Richards. The father then lets her in, and both parents leave the house. We then get a shot of the Myers house. Sheriff Brack and Dr. Loomis then pull up in a cop car. They both get out, and Dr. Loomis asks the sheriff if anyone lives there, and he responds, not since 1963 when it happened. Sheriff Brackett then again says every kid in Haddonfield thinks it's haunted, and Dr. Loomis replies, they may be right. As they walk up the steps of the Myers house, they then walk in the house and start looking around. They then find a dog. I think Sheriff Brackett says it's a dog. He says it's still warm. Loomis replies, he got hungry. He got hungry. Again.
It's great. At least you don't get to see it. Thank you, John Carpenter. At least you don't get to see this one.
I was going to say.
Thank you, yes. John Carpenter.
And then, then Sheriff Brackett says it could have been a skunk. And then says again, a man wouldn't do that. Loomis goes, this isn't a man.
So what did he eat? Like a Yorkie?
Yeah, I don't
or kill,
know.
I guess.
I think.
Eat, yeah, obviously.
I think he said it was a dog. I'm not 100% sure. All I know is after he said it could have been a skunk. I don't know what he said before that. I'm just gonna take a drink of water here, because yeah.
Life. I feel ya.
Life.
My throat was definitely a little dry after Scream.
Holy Christ! This is yeah. So now. So Loomis replies, this isn't a man. And then they start walking up the stairs and walk into a room. It appears to be Judith's room. Dr. Loomis then says, it happened right here. She was sitting right here. As Loomis is standing by the window talking to the sheriff, looks like an No, it's not like an eavesdrop. I don't know what it is, but it's something. It falls. Like Loomis is standing in front of the window talking to Sheriff Brackett, and something falls from the roof or like the side of the house. It falls into the window, breaking the window. It startles Dr. Loomis, and he pulls out his gun. Then he looks back at Sheriff Brackett, and Sheriff Brackett starts laughing when he looks back at Sheriff Brackett and starts laughing. Dr. Loomis kind of makes a smirk when he realizes what it was and says to the sheriff, I do have a permit, because he sees, Sheriff Brackett kind of looks at him when he pulls out the gun. Sheriff then looks at Loomis and says, looks to me like you're just plain scared. Then Loomis starts with the, this is famous. I love this. I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left, no reason, no consciousness, no understanding in the event of most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. I love that. Anyways.
100%. No, that goes down in history when it comes to movie quotes.
I love that.
And it's haunting, and
yes.
He has that expression where it's like, when you can tell someone is obviously horrified and doesn't know what's yet to come without the panic. Like, I don't want to say panic, because he is panic. His face does reflect panic, but there's no tears, there's no yelling, there's no hysterics. He's just, that's all he can give is just that expression.
Yes, exactly. No, just that, like you said, it's just, he tells it and that's it. Like you said, there's no tears.
It's not like, holy shit, it's about to get real. Let's go. We need to hustle. Like, he's just like, he knows no matter what we do, no matter what we try to do, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I lost where I was here. I don't know why. I lost where I was here.
He had just delivered his evil.
Yeah, no, I just for some reason my phone okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there we go. So Sheriff then asks Loomis after he gives that quote, he says, "What should we do?" Loomis then says, "He's been here once tonight. I think he'll come back. I'm going to wait for him." Sheriff then insists on notifying the radio to let everyone know. Or no, I'm going to wait for him. Then he says, he says, Sheriff then insists on notifying, I'll notify the radio and let everyone know. And Dr. Loomis says, no, because everyone will be looking for him. Everyone will, be looking for him. Just tell your men to keep their mouths shut and their eyes open. Brackett then...
Draw too much attention.
Yeah, exactly. Then Brackett then leaves and says, I'll check back in an hour. Then we get to Tommy Doyle. We get to the Tommy Doyle house, and Laurie Strode is reading him a story. And then he reached under the couch to grab comic books. I think it's comic books, and shows Laurie as she's naming them off. Tarantula Man, this and that, whatever. And it always ends with man, like, the Sandman, Tarantula Man, and then Tommy goes, "What's the boogeyman?" And then the phone rings. It's Annie. They start talking. Annie, yeah. So it shows Annie as, Laurie answers the phone. It's Annie. Then they start talking. And there's a German Shepherd that walks in the kitchen beside Annie. And it starts barking. Dog's name is Lester, by the way. We then see Michael in the bush outside the Wallace house. We see Lindsay on the couch watching a movie, and Annie asks her to grab the dog because the dog is barking and she's trying to talk on the phone. Get the dog in the kitchen.
She's watching The Thing.
Yes. Good call. Yes. Yeah?
I'm pretty sure.
Because I think
I'm pretty sure on the TV it's The Thing.
I think The Thing was made after Halloween.
I think there was that one before. I think The Thing. 1950. So there's The Thing from Another World also, which The Thing is based off of. So I think she's watching The Thing from the Other World.
Oh,
with
okay.
UFOs and shit like that. Yeah.
Yes.
But
yes.
The Thing.
No, what a coincidence.
That you were thinking of. That is based on what she's watching.
Yes, it's John Carpenter. No, exactly. What a coincidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Annie asks to grab the dog. Asks, Lindsay, grab the dog. Get it out of the kitchen. The dog then leaves the kitchen, and Annie and Laurie are having a conversation on the phone. Annie says, "What if I said you were going to the homecoming dance tomorrow?" Then Annie says she talked to Ben Tramer, and he's thrilled to hear that she's talking to Laurie, that you think he's attractive. We then get a shot of Tommy walking up to the living room window, and he then does one of those camera, it's on one scene and then it goes to another scene, and then Tommy walks up to the living room window and he looks outside and sees someone standing on the porch from a distance looking at the house. So he sees Michael, he's standing across the street, but he's looking at Tommy he's looking at the house, right?
Yep.
He then runs over to Laurie and tells her that the boogeyman is outside. Look, he says. She looks and no one is there. She says, Tommy, no one is there. Go watch TV. We then get a scene of Annie talking on the phone through the patio window. Okay, so go watch TV. No one is there. Go watch TV. Then it goes to another scene again. We get a scene of Annie. The camera's like outside the patio, and there's a window, and then we see Annie inside. So it's like looking from outside. And then we see Michael just pop. He's kind of just standing on the side of the camera a little bit. and he's staring at her through the patio window. And then she hangs up the phone because I think she dropped sauce on her shirt. And then she asks Lindsay to get her a robe. She undresses in the kitchen and changes. As she's doing that, Michael drops a plant that's hanging outside where he's standing. Like there's a plant hanging there. He's standing there. The window's there, and then she's inside. The camera's looking from like beside Michael into the kitchen. Michael then drops a plant that's hanging outside in front of the patio door, and he then hears it but does not attend to check what was dropped. She continues on in the kitchen. She puts on the robe. She continues cooking. Michael then walks around the front of the house and stares in the window. I guess, he walks around and he just stares in the window. I don't know what he's staring at. Then the German Shepherd that was in the kitchen earlier notices Michael and starts barking at him. Annie then heard him barking. Tell Lindsay, tell Lester. Lindsay, Lester's getting on my nerves again, is what she says. We then hear the dog kind of cry. He kind of whimpers. And he then says, never mind, he must have found a hot date. We then see the dog's paws kind of falling down. Yes. We see the dog's paws kind of falls down. We know Michael grabbed him. Whatever. We're not... Yeah, anyways.
More... Actually, no, it's okay. Brittany has trivia to make everyone feel better because she went looking for something to make her feel better. Good, we have a hard time with the animal death.
I need a drink of water.
So to achieve the shot of Michael Myers strangling the dog, the trainer on set held the dog in his arms and dropped him naturally. This was shot in slow motion to make it look like the dog has been killed.
Oh, cool.
Lester lived to see another day off screen. Everyone's going to be okay.
Okay.
I'm everyone. So, yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Lester should have stayed in the kitchen. Fuck you, Annie, for making him leave.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Let him bark.
Exactly.
So we see the dog, the paws fall, more heavy breathing. Cuts to a scene with Laurie and Tommy watching TV. Tommy starts asking Laurie about the jack-o'-lantern, and she says, after the movie. Then he says, what about my comic books? And then she says, after the jack-o'-lantern. Then he says, what about the boogeyman? Laurie says, there's no such thing. Tommy then says, Richie, who is one of the boys that was bullying him earlier in the one of the guys out of the 3 when he dropped the pumpkin. Richie said he's coming after me tonight, which is, when boogeyman's gonna get you.
Richie's a dick.
Yeah. Laurie then says, do you believe everything that Richie tells you? He says no. Laurie said, Halloween is just about people playing tricks on you. That's what Richie was doing. And then Tommy replies with, I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside. Laurie still keeps denying that Tommy's seen anyone. And then asks Tommy, what did he look like? Tommy then says, the boogeyman. and then Laurie says, we're not getting anywhere. The boogeyman only comes out on Halloween, right? Is what she says to Tommy. Tommy then says, right. And then Laurie says, I won't let anything happen to you. Tommy then asks Laurie if they can make the jack-o'-lantern, and then, Tommy then, can we make the jack-o'-lantern? And then they go to make they go in the kitchen. Then we get a scene of Annie walking in the backyard. She walks up to this little shack, and it turns out to be the laundry room, separate from the house, because she spilt something on her clothes in the kitchen. We see the box of Tide and her clothes in her arms, so we know, she's going to do laundry. That's why she's going there. She walks in and there's no power, and then the door closes behind her, but it doesn't close completely. And then all of a sudden the camera turns to the door a second time. So she walks in, oh, there's no, she turns on the light switch, there's no power. And then it shows the door close, but it doesn't close all the way. Then it goes back to Annie as she's doing something. Then it goes back again. And then we see Michael standing there, just staring at her. Again, Annie turns and thinks it's Paul. She thinks it's Paul. She says something. I think, Yeah, so the music starts, obviously, every time Michael's nearby or something. Most of the time when you see him actually face front, music starts. Annie turns and thinks it's Paul. She then turns back and continues doing her laundry. This time the door closes shut and locks her in. so Michael's there, then Michael's gone, and then the door closes. I think it's the wind, and then it locks. She then yells for Lindsay to open the door. It shows Lindsay still watching the movie, and the phone rings. And he's yelling from the laundry room to answer the phone because it's Paul. Okay, so one sec here. So I said Annie turns and thinks it's Paul. When I said that, I think I did a typo there. I think I think what happens is when the door, we see Michael, and then I think, so when we see Michael, she just turns back and continues doing her laundry because she doesn't know he's there. That's what. And then so she yells. Sorry. So she then yells for Lindsay to open the door. It shows Lindsay still watching the movie on the couch as the phone rings. Annie is yelling from the laundry room to answer the phone because it's Paul. Annie then is trying to escape out the back window. She can't open the door, so she goes out the back window. She tries to go out the back window, and as the phone keeps ringing, Lindsay picks it up, and voila, it's Paul. Paul then tells Lindsay to go get her because, can you go get her? Because Lindsay said she's washing it. Yeah. Hey, Lindsay, is Annie there? No, she's washing her clothes. Well, can you go get her for me, please? Lindsay then goes out the back to go get Andy in the laundry room and finds Annie trying to get out the back window. She's stuck. She then helps her get back in. Annie is embarrassed, so she asks Lindsay, please don't tell anyone about this.
It's cute.
Yeah. Lindsay leaves the laundry room with Annie, and the phone starts ringing again. She hung up the phone, and she told Paul she'll get Annie to call her back.
Yeah.
So then she goes, she's like, Paul's like, can you get her to call me back? Yeah, I'll go get her. Mm-hmm. So as they leave the laundry room, Annie and Lindsay, the phone starts ringing again. They both run back to the house, and Lindsay answers the phone and, tells Paul she got stuck in the window. And then Paul makes a joke about it to Annie when Annie answers the phone. As Annie is talking to Paul, the camera is looking behind her as she's walking back and forth. And this is the scene this is what I said I like about these. She's walking back and forth, talking on the phone. All of a sudden, there's no one. And then all of a sudden, the camera turns again. Boom, Michael's right there. There's no music. It's just one of those, whoa, you know what I mean?
And it's not your typical, like, someone opens a mirror with, like, a medicine cabinet and they're looking and, like, fucking damn well there's going to be someone behind when they close that mirror.
No,
it's at a random time.
Exactly. Even that sets you up, right? Like, when you open the medicine.
Exactly.
Like, Freddy versus Jason does that. Where Brandon Fletcher is the character's Mark. He opens it, grabs the, what is it? Not Seroquel. It's the sleep pill, the dream pill.
Yeah, whatever they're taking to, train.
And then he closes it, and Freddy's right there.
We did it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, it's whatever the medicine is there.
Yeah. I want to try and think of this here. 1 second. I'm going to see if I can remember it. Let's see how good I am. Hypnosil.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, done. Got it.
Take long.
You're right.
I'm good, eh? Fuck. So we see Michael in the background outside. She then walks back and forth again, and then all of a sudden the camera goes to the window again. And the camera doesn't go to the window. The camera's focusing on Annie, but Michael's in the background. Yes. And then all of a sudden she walks back in front of the window again, and Michael's gone.
Yep.
Annie then continues to talk on the phone with Paul, and hints to him that they're going to have sex. Just flirting, whatever. She then goes in the living room to see Lindsay. Annie then tells Lindsay to get dressed because they are going to pick up Paul. Lindsay wants to stay and watch the movie instead, and then Annie insists on bringing Lindsay to Tommy's place. Hey, do you want to go to Tommy's place instead then? And this is, back to where they were talking, Lindsay only wants the baby, or Annie only wants to babysit so she can,
Yep.
And then Lori cut them off, but that's what she was saying, right?
Exactly.
And then, as they walk across the street to Tommy's house, they pass right beside a parked car, and Michael pops out. So, Michael kind of just pops right up, the music. starts again, one of those creepy things. The way they did things in this movie. Again, brilliant, amazing. Everything about this movie. This movie is a 10 out of 10.
It really is.
If you don't like it, well, I hope you run into oncoming traffic, because this movie is a masterpiece. Start to finish, dialogue, camera, effects, everything. There's nothing wrong with this movie.
It was a game changer.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this movie. Just like Jaws. There's nothing wrong with Jaws.
100%. Well, I'm not going to argue with you there. You got me. You got me.
Yeah, so Michael pops up, heavy breathing again.
Yep.
Tommy then answers the door, and Annie and Lindsay go in the house. Annie goes to see Laurie in the kitchen and says, It's been a bad night for me. I spilled sauce on my clothes and got locked in the laundry room. Laurie then asks Annie to call Ben Tramer and say she was just joking. Annie won't and keeps insisting she can't because Ben has gone out for the night. So she tells Laurie, you can tell him when you call him tomorrow, when you call him yourself tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then Annie says, and besides, I'm on my way to pick up Paul anyways. Laurie then realizes she's leaving Lindsay there. Whoa, she kind of says, whoa, kind of thing. And then Annie says to Laurie, well, if you watch Lindsay, then I will consider talking to Ben Tramer in the morning for you. They agree. She says, okay. Annie is happy because she gets her way. Annie then leaves to go get Paul. Annie is walking to the car and goes to open the door, and the door is locked. I like this scene. This is a really, really cool scene. I like how they did this. Annie walks up to the car, and the driver's side door is locked. So then she's like, oh, I need the keys. So she goes back to get the keys. She goes back to the Wallace house and grabs the keys from her purse. She then goes back to the car, and she doesn't even open the door with the keys to unlock it. She opens the door, and the door is automatically open. It's unlocked. Yep. I love that. I don't know why I love how they did that. I think that was amazing. For a reason. Yeah, I think that was amazing how they did that, because the camera literally focuses and shows just her hand going to open the door, and it's locked. And then when she comes back, it focuses on just her hand in the car again, and she just opens it without, she's got the keys in her hand, but she opens it with her two fingers. She gets in the, and she doesn't realize that she opened the door like that.
Nope.
Then she gets in the car, and she notices the windshield is super foggy. She starts wiping it, whatever. And then Michael pops up from the back seat. I love this kill. And then, Michael pops out from the backseat. One of those little, the score. And then Michael chokes her for like 45 seconds, and it's horrendous. Like the way, and she's, you know what I mean? And it's so quiet.
Heavy breathing.
It's so quiet, and all you hear is heavy breathing. That's all you hear is heavy breathing, and you hear her squealing. You know what I mean?
And this taught everyone to check their back seats.
Yes, this did. I'm sure everyone, after this movie came out, the first thing they did was check their back seats.
Check your back seats.
Before they got in. Yeah, yes. So, he chokes her for like 45 seconds, and it's so, like, horrendous. Like, it's, it's so gut-wrenching. It's like, she's like,
yep.
And then you hear Michael, heavy breathing.
There's
and it's like
no blood. It's all acting.
There's no acting. That's what I mean. Less is more. There is no blood in there's like maybe one or two minor blood scenes, but there's no blood in this movie. And this goes to show you that you can make a masterpiece with no blood.
Without all that gore.
Exactly. All you need is good character development and good camera work, good acting, and terrifying villain.
You'll create a masterpiece, probably. Exactly. You'll make art.
No, exactly. So then at the end, after she's kind of like, losing breath, it looks like he hits her with something or stabs her with something. And then she falls on the horn as the horn continues to beat for a while. And then the camera kind of looks at the Wallace house. Or not the Wallace house, but wherever the car was. It looks at a house, and you can hear the horn beeping, but it's like from a distance, right?
Yep.
And then we get Tommy and Lindsay watching the movie on the couch together. Tommy then gets off the couch to hide behind the curtains to try and scare Lindsay. And then he turns around and looks outside again and sees Michael carrying Annie across the street.
Yep.
He watches Michael bring her in the house. Or yeah, so she's walking, Michael is carrying Annie, and he's walking beside the house, and then he turns, and then he goes inside the house. So I think we're at the Wallace house. Actually, I think that's where because that's where Annie was babysitting.
Yes.
So then Tommy freaks out and scares Lindsay, and then they're both, because he kind of backs up a little bit and bumps into Lindsay or whatever, and Lindsay kind of starts screaming, and they both start screaming. And then Laurie hears them both screaming as she comes in the living room, and Tommy keeps telling her, I seen him again. Laurie still doesn't believe him and says, stop this or you're going to bed. I'm turning off the TV, you're going to bed. Tommy doesn't think anyone believes him. And Lindsay says, yeah, no one believes me. Lindsay says, I do. They sit back down and continue watching the movie, because Laurie says, go watch me, or I'm turning off the TV and you're going to bed. We then get a scene of Loomis outside the Myers house. I love this scene too. This is awesome. I love this. As the three kids, he's hiding behind the bush because he said he's going to wait for Michael because Michael was already here tonight. We get three kids walk up to the house. It's Lonnie, Elam, Richie, and Keith. The three kids that bullied Tommy Doyle at the beginning, the beginning, middle of the movie. Lonnie then walks up to the door and Loomis whispers, get away from there. Get away, trying to scare them. And then they run off scared. Loomis then kind of has a smirk on his face, and Sheriff Brackett grabs Loomis's shoulder behind him and scares him, a little bit. Sheriff then insists to Loomis that he's way off on what he was saying this whole time because he's found nothing yet. Just kids being kids on Halloween. Sheriff Brackett is not convinced, and Loomis is still trying to convince him. I watched him for 15 years. You can either ignore it or help me stop it, Sheriff. Sheriff is still not convinced, saying more fancy talk, explaining about Haddonfield having families and lots of kids around. Nice neighborhood. Loomis convinces him to stay and wait, but Sheriff says, if you are right, damn you for letting him go. Then cuts to a van with Bob Sims, played by John Michael Graham, and Linda. I think that was PJ Souls. We already introduced her.
Yep.
Laurie's other friend is there flirting in the van. We know exactly what they were going to be doing. You have sex, you die.
Absolutely.
Linda and so they're giggling. She's giggling. They're giggling. They're drinking beer in the van. The van's parked out in front of the Myers house. Bob picks up Linda and they walk in the Wallace. They walk. Or no. Okay, that was sorry. That was Rob Zombie's one where they were in the Myers house. This is the
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely correct.
This was the Myers, so he switched it up a bit. So they're parked in front of the Wallace house because Annie was supposed to be there as well, and they were both supposed to be, and anyways, so they walk in the Wallace house and start looking for Annie. No one is there. They start making out on the couch, and the camera starts moving back. Intense music, and it's looking at them making out on the couch, and then it starts moving back. Intense music starts, and
we all know what's coming.
Yes, we all know what's coming. We see the corner of Michael's shoulder again as he's watching them on the couch. It then cuts to a scene of Laurie, Lindsay, and Tommy walking in the kitchen with a pumpkin. Laurie then puts the pumpkin down and looks out the window. Okay, so I think she's walking in the kitchen. She's walking with the pumpkin. She puts the pumpkin down. They're in the living room. She goes to the living room. She goes to the window. Looks out the window and sees nothing. Laurie says to the kids, let's watch the rest of the movie. They sit down and the phone rings. Laurie picks up the phone, and it's Linda. Linda is asking where Annie is, and Laurie thought Linda would be home by now. She went to go pick up Paul. Laurie then says to Linda, when you see her, tell her to give me a call because I need to know what time to put Lindsay to bed. Laurie then hangs up the phone, and then it shows Linda and Bob. Linda and Bob are happy that Lindsay's gone for the night. Yeah, they said Lindsay is gone for the night. They get all excited and go upstairs. We then get a scene of Lori looking out the window again. She sees nothing. Then we get Bob and Linda kissing in the bed, and the phone starts ringing. Bob picks up the phone, leaves it on the side, and they continue doing their thing. They get all, oh, the phone's ringing.
Why the fuck is there a jack-o'-lantern lit on a nightstand in this scene? Like, I'm always into Halloween. Yeah. I love Halloween, but, like, you won't see me have a lit jack-o'-lantern on my bedstand.
I'm assuming they, it was a candle, I'm assuming, make it...
Friggin' made me laugh. I was like, oh.
It's a Halloween touch, right?
It's Halloween.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So Bob picks up the phone and leaves it on the side, and they continue to do their thing. We then see a shadow walk across the wall. I think it's behind them. They're on the bed, and we just see a shadow, kind of. You know what I mean? They're done doing their thing, whatever, and then they both start having a smoke, and then Bob gets up to, Bob asks Linda, or no, yeah, I think, do you want a beer? Or no,
Linda asks Bob, yeah.
Yes, Linda asks Bob, and then Linda, are you gonna get us a beer? And then, I thought you were, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Bob goes to the fridge to get a beer. I love this scene. This is iconic.
It's a pretty cool one.
Yeah. He goes to the fridge and he sees the black. Oh, he goes to the fridge and sees the back door open. He calls Annie or Paul's name to see if it was one of them. Then he thinks it's Linda. He goes to one of the doors. He closes the other door, and then he goes to another door because I think he heard something.
Mm-hmm.
Then he opens the door thinking it's Linda, and Michael comes flying out and pushes him up against the wall, lifts him up by the throat and stabs him with the knife, and he's hanging there. And Michael kind of tilts his head, kind of like admiring his work. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, like, that was awesome. As if I just did that.
Exactly.
And then, so Bob's hanging there. So he tilts his head. I love that scene. I love the kill. Like I said, the way, Michael tilts his head, it's like he's admiring his work.
I agree.
And more heavy breathing. All right, so, we get that kill where Bob's, Michael stabs him. He's hanging on the wall. Michael tilts his head like he's admiring his kill. We get a bunch of heavy breathing again.
Heavy breathing.
Yeah, heavy breathing. You guys are probably hammered by now.
How you guys doing out there?
Yeah. Then we see Linda in bed. The bedroom door opens, and it's someone with a sheet over them. Yeah, so Linda is in bed. I think she's filing her nails, because that's what a girl does after, anyways. And then the door of the bedroom just opens, and we see someone standing there with a sheet over them with glasses on. Could it be Bob? Well, we just watched him die, but Linda doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
As the guy under the sheets just stands in the doorway, more heavy breathing, Linda asks for her beer. He doesn't move or give her beer.
Does he have the beer in this one?
What's that?
Is he holding the beer in this one? Or am I thinking Rob Zombie?
It is Rob Zombie where he's actually... Okay. But this one, it doesn't show if he's holding the beer or not. She then gets up and says, okay, well, I'm going to call Lori because he stands there. And she's like, can I have my beer? And he stands there. She's, okay, I'm going to call Lori then. She calls Lori. Lori picks up the phone, and we see the sheets walking, the person, Michael, walking behind her. Lori picks, so we see Michael walking behind her, well, towards her, but her back is turned. Michael then grabs Linda. Linda doesn't even have time to say anything. He grabs the cord from the phone, chokes her. She's, suffocating. Lori is a little off because it seems weird, but she also thinks they're joking at first. Nice try, guys. Linda falls down, grabbing the sheet off of Michael. You still hear her more heavy breathing.
Laurie said it herself, Halloween's for tricks. So that's why they all think that.
Yes, exactly.
This is all a joke at first. Like, they don't take it seriously when anything happens at first.
Exactly, because you think it's a joke, right? And then once it continues happening, you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
And then, Linda falls down, grabbing the sheets off Michael. As I said, more heavy breathing. Then Michael picks up the phone, and Laurie's on the other side, and he's just listening.
Heavy breathing.
Yeah, heavy breathing. No, I don't think he's heavy breathing at this point.
No, he's not.
No, I think he's just sitting there listening. Laurie hangs up the phone, looks across the street. All the lights are on at the Wallace house. She calls back again, and there's no answer. Then she walks up on stairs to check the kids. The kids are both sleeping.
Yes.
We then get a shot of Loomis waiting outside again by the bush by the Myers house. Outside behind the bush by the Myers house. Loomis then looks around, and sees that station wagon again. The station wagon that he stole. He sees that, so Loomis runs up and realizes it's the one that Michael took from the hospital at the beginning of the movie. We then get Laurie walking back downstairs, and she walks to the living room and grabs the keys. Walks outside and then notices the lights across the street at the Wallace house are now turned off. She starts walking towards the house. As she keeps walking towards the house, music intensifies the situation. And she then walks up to the door, knocks on it, calls Linda's name a few times, no answer. Calls Annie's name, no answer. She then walks around the back to see if the door is open. Walks in the back door, calls all three names, Linda, Annie, and Bob. She gets nothing. As she's walking inside the house, looking in the rooms, she hears a noise upstairs. She starts to walk up the stairs, sees the bedroom light on with the door cracked open. She walks in the room and finds Annie laying on the bed dead with that missing gravestone. Earlier today says Judith Myers on it. She then turns around and Bob's body comes down in the doorway and kind of just swings back. And then she finds Linda's body in a corner or a closet of a cabinet or something. She then freaks out, hides over in the corner. She's freaking out, whatever. Yeah, before she hides in the corner, she's, Then she runs in the hallway and she kind of crouches down, leans up in the corner. And I love this.
She's emotional.
Yeah, very, very emotional.
Very emotional.
Yeah. And then I love this scene. This scene is amazing. Another amazing scene. So the camera's focused on Laurie as she's crying, but there's a room behind her, and you just see Michael's face slowly come out of the black. Like, that was just so amazing. More heavy breathing then after that. But yeah,
he's ready.
The way they did that was awesome. Like, it's focused on Laurie, but you see kind of behind her. But
there's another shot that happens later on that's very comparable to this that I enjoy as well.
Okay, let me know when I bring it up.
Yep.
Yeah, so more heavy breathing, and then he kind of stabs her in the arm, like comes up behind her and kind of cuts her a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's more of like a tear because like she's obviously moving, so he kind of like skims her.
Yeah, he tears her sleeve and kind of cuts her a bit.
Exactly.
She falls over the stair railing and she falls down.
Yeah, does she ever?
Yeah, does she ever? Yeah. She falls over and she falls down, like falls over and but there's no falling down the stairs. It's if you ever want to get down the stairs, just fall over the railing. It's faster.
Pull a Laurie. It happened very quick.
Yeah. So Michael starts, Michael kind of walks, she falls. He's by the closet. He kind of walks around the railing, and then the camera looks up and you see him at the top of the stairs. Michael starts walking down the stairs as she's injured from falling over the railing.
Emphasize walk. he walks. This is where the popular cliche of horror movies where the girl's running, like, you know, and he's just walking.
Yeah.
It's so much more scarier because
when he's walking,
they always catch up.
Yes.
He's not in a rush. You'd think that he would be chasing after, although it would be quite traumatizing to see him just like kick into like full tilt, like sprinting. Like that would be awful.
No, for
but
sure.
Just the fact that he's walking slow, it's so ominous. It's so like it's hard to explain.
No, I agree with you though. The walking thing I think is much more terrifying.
Jason does the same thing.
Well, that's the thing.
Majority of the times.
In the first 4 films he runs. But then he starts walking after, right? And I think they did that because, well, you know what? It's more scary when they're walking. It's more terrifying.
It is more scary. You know, because like especially it's especially when that final girl is, or not final girl. A lot of the times they don't end up being a final girl when Buddy is slow walking, but they're screaming, they're running. Like Sidney Prescott would say, their boobs are bouncing up and down because it's always the big-chested ladies, right?
Yes. Touche.
They're horrified. Yes. They're trying to flee, and that Michael Myers is just slow walking. I'll get there when I get there. Yeah. I'm gonna get my goal no matter what.
Regardless, she might trip over something anyways, because normally they do. Or
you're frantic. You're exactly. Or I'd fall. I'd be one of those people that trip. Are you kidding me? I trip when I'm walking. Like
yeah. Or sometimes 100%. I like when they're running and they look behind them and they see them, but then they turn and look in front of them and they're standing right there and they bump into them. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like,
okay. A lot of the times they're running, they see them, they're running, they look around, he's not there, and they're in front of them when they like turn back around. Like,
yeah.
100%.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. So Michael starts walking down the stairs. There's that, like I said, there's that scene where it just shoots up at the top of the stairs and Michael's just standing there. Yep. Then Michael's walking down the stairs and she's limping around the house. She locks the kitchen door and tries escaping out the back. But Michael has a pitchfork locking the handle, so she breaks the window. She breaks the window. She gets free. So she runs into the kitchen and she locks the kitchen door behind her. And then she tries going out the back kitchen door, but Michael has a pitchfork lock in the handle. So she breaks the window. She gets free. Michael breaks open the kitchen door because you lock a door. Well, you know, that just gives him more reason to... You could be like Jason and just walk through it.
Is this the scene where he's punching through the door, like no weapons necessary? It's just him.
Yes.
That's traumatizing. Can you imagine being on the other end of that door and realizing he's not using an axe, he's not using a kitchen knife. With that being said, he's using his body to break down this door.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It's terrifying.
Yes, it is, definitely. Okay, so sorry, so
that's okay.
Yeah, Michael breaks open the door, gets in the kitchen, and she moves. Yeah, so she breaks open the window, moves the pitchfork, and leaves. Opens the door and leaves. She runs across to the Doyle house, where the kids are sleeping. She lost the keys. Yeah, she's looking for the keys. She's in front of the door. She's like, "Where's the keys? Where's the keys?"
She can't find bell-bottom pants, and she's trying to get in, and her hands all bloody, and she's they're struggling.
Tight. Yeah, and you know, where are the keys? You know, and her acting in this was really good. Like she looked very sincerely terrified.
She still has that innocence in her because she is a young actress portraying this role, playing a young character. Yeah, so it works. Her mother, as far as I'm concerned, is obviously a legend in the horror community, so it's in their blood. It's just, this is how she's wired, you know?
Exactly. So she lost the keys. She's trying to get them. She realizes she doesn't have them. So she throws a pot up to the window, wake the kids up. Mm-hmm. And you see Michael walking across the street as he's walking closer and closer to Laurie. Tommy lets her in. She turns the lights off and locks the door and tells Tommy, go upstairs. She then crouches down by the couch and grabs a knitting needle. We don't see Michael get in the house. Michael pops out behind her. She crouches down by the couch, grabs a knitting needle. She's freaking out. And then I don't think we see Michael, unless I missed it. We don't see Michael get in the house. He pops out from behind the couch.
Yep.
She's kind of like crouched. She's sitting kind of on the couch, but Michael pops out from behind the couch. And then she stabs him in the neck with a knitting needle. He pulls it out and falls down. She looks over and sees Michael lying on the floor. We then get Loomis walking down the street. Sheriff Brackett pulls up, and Loomis tells Sheriff that he found the car. He's around here. I found the car. He's close. Let's look for him. We then get Laurie walking up the stairs and knocking on the door that the kids locked. They open the door, and Tommy then says, "The boogeyman, I'm scared." Laurie says, "You don't need to be scared because I killed him." Then Tommy goes, "You can't kill the boogeyman." And as they're talking, the camera's behind Laurie, and you see the shadow of the stairs, because it's aiming at the stairs. You see the shadow coming up the stairs. And then, you see Michael, as he says, "You can't kill the boogeyman." All of a sudden, you see Michael there. But like I said, at first, when they're talking, you see the shadow coming up the stairs.
It's the build up towards it.
Yes. The kids run, and Laurie, go in there, lock the door. And then Laurie runs into the other room and locks the door, hides in the closet. Michael breaks, she's sitting there. She grabs a coat hanger. So when Tommy says, "You can't kill the boogeyman," they see Michael. The music starts, heavy breathing. Then, "Go in there, lock the door." Laurie says that to the kids. The kids go in one room. She goes in the bedroom. She goes and hides in the closet. Michael breaks into the closet. And
she's like playing with the clothes hanger. Yeah, she grabbed a trying to like kind of jimmy rig a weapon.
Yes, when he breaks in, but he's trying to break the pieces of wood, because it's a wooden double door closet there, and he's breaking down and he's trying to get in, and she grabs a coat hanger and she's trying to play with it, and then she stabs him in the eye. She gets it all straightened out. She stabs him in the eye, and he drops his knife. She picks up the knife and she stabs him, and then he falls to the ground.
Yep.
She gets up and walks out of the closet while Michael is still laying on the ground. She goes to see the other kids in the other closet to come out. She tells them, "Come on out." They come out, and then she says, she gets down to them and she says, "I want you to walk down the street and go to the Mackenzie's house and tell them to call the police." We touched on that yesterday.
Mackenzies are always keeping people safe. Those Mackenzies. You always want to go to the Mackenzie's house. Move somewhere that has Mackenzies living on that street.
Yes, just in case. You're going to be safe.
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
this is the scene. This is the scene where where Michael is laying down and he just
sits right up. I love that too.
And just kind of looks at her.
I love that too. Yeah. Yeah, so she says, the kids come out and she says, "I want you to walk down the street. I want you to go to the Mackenzie's house. Tell them to call the police and get over here." The kids leave. We see Laurie crouching down by a corner, I think, again. And then we see, you can see kind of behind her, but it's blurry. And then you just see Michael just...
It's terrifying.
Yeah, and just turns to her. Yeah, I love the way that was shot. That's awesome. Yep. There's so many amazing scenes in this movie.
Absolutely.
So after Michael sits up and looks at her, Loomis sees the kids running, the kids start running out of the house screaming. Loomis sees them. Loomis obviously, the kids are running out of this house screaming. It doesn't take much to
put it together.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Then we see Laurie get up and she starts walking slowly, walking with her head down. And then Michael comes behind her and grabs her from behind, turns her around, and they tussle a bit. And then Laurie pulls off his mask. That's not Nick Castle. That's Tony Moraine. He played Michael Myers. I don't know why. I don't understand why they do two different people for, you know what I mean, an unmasked scene. Why don't they just unmask Nick Castle? It was Tony Moraine. I don't know why they unmask. Why they
That's
had
weird.
another actor. I don't understand why. But then yeah. So she unmasks him. You see the one eye because she stabbed him in the eye with the coat hanger. And then as we see, he's grabbing the mask and he's putting it back on. We see Loomis run up the stairs and Loomis shoots him once. And then he kind of disappears as he shoots him once. And then he runs into the bedroom and we see Michael standing there, heavy breathing. Really heavy breathing. And then he shoots him 5 more times.
Take 2 shots.
What's that?
Take 2 shots for the really heavy breathing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, Loomis shoots him 5 more times, and as he shoots him, bang, bang, 5 more times, Michael falls off the balcony, falls outside on the ground, and then we see him just laying on the ground, and the music kind of just does. And then he then looks at Laurie, and Laurie looks at him and says, "Was that the boogeyman?" And then he says, as a matter of fact, that was. And then he then walks over to the balcony, looks down on the ground. Michael's gone. Theme starts.
And that's so that's so famous.
Yes.
The cliche of I killed him, I put him on his ass. He's here for a second. I turn my head.
And
I
he's
look
gone.
back. He's gone.
And then and then this is another scene I like. So as soon as Loomis looks and sees Michael's gone, the theme starts. Then we start getting some shots of the house. The hallway, the living room, as the music's going. Then there's more heavy breathing going at the same time. It's intense. The music's going, the heavy breathing's going. It's looking at parts of the house. Then it starts looking outside in the neighborhood, the backyard, the street, basically symbolizing Michael could be anywhere at this point. Michael could be anywhere. And then it, does all that as the heavy breathing and the theme starts. And then it turns back to Loomis, and Loomis is kind of, doing this with his eyes, like looking kind of around, looking up, kind of turning his eyes. And then the credits roll. And then I got masterpiece written in big cursive letters or capital letters. That's it.
And even the ending, for it to end like that. Like.
Oh, the ending. Like.
It's, yeah, this is, how do I, there is amazing horror movies that came before this. There's amazing horror movies that came after this. But then there's Halloween.
Right? Halloween
I don't really know how else to describe it.
That's the best way. It's its own, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like Halloween. I feel like it's special.
When you make the tier, when it comes to like that top tier, like on top of everything, no matter what, that I think it's like the S tier, maybe it's the A tier. I'm not too sure what it's considered. I feel like there's only a few movies that deserve to be in that tier. Psycho and Halloween would be the first that would pop to my mind.
That's awesome. Yeah. Obviously it's my favorite.
Just because of what they created,
It redefined, like you were saying, the best way to describe it is Halloween. There's nothing else like this movie.
No.
This started a whole new genre completely.
1978.
Yes.
It's timeless. There was a few slashers before this. Like we were talking about right before we started rolling the recording, my favorite movie, which is Jaws.
Yeah.
That's 1975. when you watch a lot of the behind the scenes shit on movies in the 90s, the 80s, sorry, the 90s, the 2000s onwards, a lot of the crew, the producers, the writers, the directors, they always go back to two certain movies, three of them. With that being said, Psycho, obviously, Jaws, and Halloween.
Oh yeah, cool. I never noticed that.
They're constantly referenced as like inspirations, or if you asked a director or a producer, like, what was your favorite movie growing up? What inspired you to do this kind of stuff? Jaws or Halloween. So Steven Spielberg and John Carpenter and Alfred Hitchcock for, with that being said, for Psycho.
Yep.
I would throw Stephen King in that mix, and to me those are like, you know how with metal you have those four pioneers, the heavy metal, the core four.
Yep.
That would be my core four of horror: John Carpenter, Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, Alfred Hitchcock. And it's not to take away from Wes Craven. Obviously, we're huge fans of him. See last week's episode.
Yep.
Wes Craven takes from John Carpenter a lot.
Yes.
So in order, you know what I mean? He's right up there. Absolutely. He's right up there in the tiers. There's a few other ones that are up there too. Even for modern horror, Eli Roth, like he's amazing.
He's one of my favorites, but he's a whole other level. He's grotesque.
Exactly.
He's grotesque.
They are good at what they do, and they put their all into their storytellings, and it works.
Yes.
Like to compare John Carpenter to Eli, blood to blood, I guarantee you John Carpenter's probably spent like maybe $100 on the blood special effects when it came to writing his movies and filming his movies.
Exactly. And Eli Roth
can't say the same.
No,
can't say the same at all.
You said, like I said, Eli Roth is grotesque, right?
100%.
John Carpenter, you know what I mean? He's simple. Like a lot. Well,
he's simple.
I can't say
simple.
I can't say all of his movies are simple, but Halloween was. But a lot of his A lot of his movies are not that bloody. You know.
You could say the same thing about Steven Spielberg too. You could say Jaws is simple because it kind of is to an extent, but then Jurassic Park, like that's not simple. Like
no,
you know. I don't know. To me, Halloween, it sets the bar. It set the bar for a lot of things. It changed the horror dynamic. I wasn't alive back then when this was released. I feel like if I was, this probably would have scared the shit out of me.
If there's one movie, we were talking about that yesterday. If there's one movie that I could go back and experience in the theaters, it would be Halloween. 1978, 100%.
I think that's appropriate.
That one.
I think that's appropriate.
That one or The Lost Boys, honestly, just because.
Fair enough.
The Lost Boys, we're going to talk about that one because it's probably going to be like this for me because that's
it's a lot.
I honestly want to say it's my my second favorite horror film of all time. I think I want to put it before Friday the 13th Part 4 just because The Lost Boys did something to me growing up. Nostalgia. I feel like
the actors alone would probably put it a little bit higher up in Friday than Friday the 13th Part 4.
Just because the cast,
like the cast,
all-star
like, that
cast
gives it a couple more points, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the way it was shot as well. A lot of the camera work, the score too, like the soundtrack. Oh,
very
come
much so.
on. You know what I mean? The soundtrack.
It's been many moons ago that I've watched that one, but I remember being very entertained. I like when there's prominent actors in horror movies because I am a scaredy cat. So I get a little bit more comfortable when it's a actor that I like am very well aware of. You know, if it could happen to them and they could persevere, so could I. So like shit like that. But I don't know, Halloween, big shoes to fill.
Yes.
Big shoes to fill.
Oh yeah. And you guys have heard me ramble about this enough. I can't explain to you any more of how
go watch it.
How much this movie is perfect in every way.
We don't need to give you an excuse to watch it, but by the time this video is released, it is Halloween. Go watch it.
Exactly.
You know, 100%.
Yes. I got one more note here. If you don't mind, sorry.
I didn't prepare that much trivia because I knew that you were gonna. You had a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah.
No, I wouldn't necessarily say exceed. and me and Shaun were talking about this earlier too. We're afraid that, like, obviously we're going to be giving you guys some really long videos for some movies, and some other ones might have a little bit shorter. It's just because these ones are our favorites. It just so happened that the first 4 that we talked about are our 4 favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
We got a lot to say.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean when we do, say, an hour movie on something else, it doesn't mean that movie's not as good as these movies. It just means
we have more to talk.
They impacted us a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's actually funny too, because I can't remember when I first seen the original Halloween, because I think I watched a couple other ones before. I think H2O was one of them that I seen before.
Well, it's hard when you're born in the 90s, right? Because, like, and I feel like the younger viewers might not know what we're talking about this, but cable TV, you're flipping through channels, and you don't mean to stumble on something, but you do, and then you watch it, and you're like, oh, fuck, this is the 5th movie. Like, I have so much shit to watch before, you know?
Oh, that's how I ended up watching horror movies at a young age, because my dad used to leave the TV on all the time, you know, and he'd be sleeping on the couch. Yeah, and I'm just watching. Here I am, 5 years old, on the couch with my dad.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mike was a big horror guy, was he not? Like, he was really into horror,
well, no,
if I'm not mistaken?
No, I'm not. No, not Mike. I'm talking about my real father.
Which makes sense, too, because it's in your blood. But I'm pretty sure your mom and Mike, didn't they watch a lot of horror movies when we were in high school and stuff?
My mom did. My mom is the reason. My mom and my real father, more or less my mom, because, my mom's a huge, like, even now, like, she texted me during this podcast, I'm watching Halloween H2O. You know what I mean? Like, we do that. You know, every time I watch a new horror movie, I'm like, watch this, you know, or, my mom is the reason why I basically, like, I was going to say, you know, my dad used to fall asleep on the couch and I'd watch some of these movies while he was sleeping and they were on TV, but my mom, you know, I used to watch movies with her, like, later on when, you know, how would I say it? Like, you know, when I moved to Sudbury and they separated and she was with Mike, well, we used to have movie nights all the time, right? And we'd watch horror movies, rent them on VHS, stuff like that. So, my mom is the main reason why I am the way I am.
My dad was definitely into horror movies too. He's still, I don't want to say he is, like, now. Like, I feel like he wouldn't go, if I asked him to, he'd watch a new Halloween with me or a new Friday the 13th or something like that. I do remember when the remake came out for Friday the 13th, which I know you're not that big of a fan of.
No. The cast?
But I went to go see it in theaters, and I told you the story, so it was a bunch of us. It was, I think, 4 of us. We went to go see it in theaters, and we were probably, like, 15 years old, 16 maybe. We got in, and obviously it's rated R. So, like, our movie theater, they take making sure you're old enough for these films very seriously.
Yeah.
We got in somehow. One of us went to go get popcorn. It was actually Kyle Bushy. Super innocent, right?
Yep.
He went to go get popcorn. He came to come back in, and they wouldn't let him in. So he tried calling me a bunch of times, and we're watching the movie. So I didn't get it, and then I finally looked, and he's like, they won't let me in. So
you told me that.
We all had to leave the theater. We went to go exchange tickets because they let us, which was pretty good on them.
Oh, so you guys
Mall Cop.
You guys, really?
My dad was so upset and disappointed because he's like, going to watch Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th is not something I would have thought my daughter would be able to do as, like, a teenager watching it in, like, the 80s, right? Yeah. Like, you don't think, oh, fuck, this isn't going to be popular 20, 30 years from now, and then your daughter goes to see Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th. He thought that was pretty cool. I always remember when I would watch these with my dad, like, he would always say, like, oh, back in the day, that was so scary, or like, he'd always give me, like, little nostalgia points, and that makes it so much better for me. I don't know. Just like you said, you remember your mom and you would watch movies, or your dad, and he would leave them on TV. Like, that's how I discovered the birds. I remember going into the kitchen and he was watching the birds, and, like, these birds are pecking at people, and I'm like, it's the unintended exposure, I feel like, are the best experiences that you get.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Because you didn't ask for this.
No.
I can tell you that when I was a little girl, I was 8 years old and I was flipping through the channels. I didn't expect to see Chucky pushing a fucking television into a bathtub, electrocuting someone.
Yeah.
But I did, and it changed my life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I didn't expect to be, 30 years old and all I love, I live
Look at all the shit you
horror.
have on your walls and in your room. Like, that's your pride,
Yeah.
And look at all that you've collected. And to some people, they would be like, why are you wasting your money on that? But, like, fuck them. It's my hobby. It's what I do. It's what I like.
That's my sled. You know what I mean? You guys have a sled?
Yes,
that's my sled.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Thank you.
To each their own.
Yeah.
I got you. I get it.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
All right,
so my husband goes and buys sleds, so then I have excuses to be like, I'm buying this because you went and bought this.
Yeah.
It works just as well.
No, yeah, exactly. No, it does.
This is not going to be the last time we talk about a Halloween franchise. This is just the beginning.
We got plenty more where that came from. Plenty more. We're gonna do all the Halloweens. We're gonna do some episodes where we're just gonna talk about the worst episodes of the franchise. We're going to talk about how shitty they were. I want to talk about Halloween Resurrection because, I also want to talk about Halloween Ends.
We mentioned at the beginning of the movie, it's not to say it's an atrocious film. It's just we don't really agree with the direction it went.
No, the way they did this, you know what I mean? Like, the way they did it. Mm-hmm. Like, it just, like, I'll be honest with you, the performance of Michael in that movie is amazing. The kills are awesome. I love the kills. Mm-hmm. The look of him, he's intimidating, he's scary. And you know what? I'm going to say something too. So in Halloween 78, which we just talked about, he's the Shape. Yes. The only other movie that he is the Shape is Halloween Resurrection. If you ever realize that up. If you ever realize that, because
I have not, but
in Halloween Resurrection, he stalks them. He looks around the corners and he stands in the dark and then he just, you know what I mean? He doesn't do that in any other movies except for 1978. You know what I mean?
You're right.
No,
you're right.
Yeah, I do like that about Halloween Resurrection. The stories and the characters are fucking brutal.
And unfortunately, they dropped the ball, like, for me, with killing off Laurie. Like, I think it's the first half hour of that movie. Let's compare that opener to this opener, where you learn a little bit about Michael's backstory, how he's a 6-year-old with a little bit of demonic views on life, we'll say.
Yeah.
Compare it to the open of Wrong Turn. Couple hiking up the mountain, the rock climbing, and then you just see the ominous. It leaves you to kind of wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
The opening from Scream, it's amazing. Casey Becker, it'll always go down in history.
One of the best openings.
And then you got the opening of Resurrection, where they go and kill the beloved final girl.
Exactly.
And if you talk to anyone who was born before, I feel like probably before the late 80s, early 90s, their final girl will always be
Jamie
Laurie.
Lee Curtis. Yes, Laurie
Jamie
Strode.
Lee Curtis.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
To me, it's Sydney, as I mentioned in last week's video, but Sydney is basically a clapback at Laurie.
Yeah.
So it just means Laurie deserves that number one spot.
Exactly. Laurie's my number one, obviously, you know.
Yep.
But no, you're totally right. Like, it's just, and even the fact that Laurie agreed, or Jamie Lee Curtis agreed to being killed off, the fact that she even agreed to it already says something. Why would you even make the movie then? Just, you know what I mean?
And then she agreed to come back to the 2018 timeline, the trilogy, which means she was ready to redeem. She probably just, to me, I tell myself that she said, I'm going to do this just to, like, let it die.
Well, that's, you're right, though. That's what she did. David Gordon Green came up to her about an idea for a trilogy of the Halloween movies, and it was her idea. She's like, you know what? I'm going to do this one more time. This is going to put this, this Laurie Strode timeline, this
storyline to rest.
It's going to put it to rest. Now, 2018 retcons every single film before that except the first one. So it goes...
It's crazy. And they do such a good job of it.
It goes 78, and then it goes right to 2018. And every other one doesn't exist. Yeah, and they're not. Yeah,
They get rid of that storyline. They
They do a couple. They do a couple things. Like, the one thing. Like, as much I do like Halloween 2018 a lot. Actually, I watched it.
I do. The first one, it was. I have no complaints, actually, to be honest with you. It was a solid sequel.
It was really good. There's a couple things I have complaints about, but that's me. I'm a nitpicker. There's there's the one scene where the little black kid's getting babysat by that blonde chick.
You don't like that scene?
No, I like that scene. I like how tight they are.
I love them.
It's the scene where Michael comes out of the closet. And it's supposed to be intimidating and it's supposed to be scary, but then the little black kid says, "Oh shit." And all you can do is laugh.
Know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
You know what I mean? That shouldn't have been there.
I loved it, though. The reason why I loved it is
I did laugh
the dynamic between the babysitter and that kid. Like, they are so fucking cute together.
Yeah,
just their little, like, one-liners towards each other.
Yeah.
And I was more focused on the thought, like, what is that bitch-ass boyfriend doing in the basement?
Yeah.
The little kid says there's something in his closet.
Yes.
Why are you sending the girl up there?
Yeah.
Like, not to be, like, misogynistic or, like, sexist or anything, but, like...
No, but for real.
There.
Yeah, for real,
like,
yeah. No, exactly.
You know what I mean? Actually, did you know, and we'll discuss it there when we do that episode, but the kid who plays Bobby in... I don't even know if it's Bobby. It might not be Bobby in that timeline, but the Bobby character where, like, he pins him to the wall.
Bob. Yeah. His name's Bob.
It is Bob, eh?
Yeah.
It's the guy that in Shawshank Redemption, Tim something, the actor that plays
okay.
Yeah, from Shawshank Redemption's kid.
No shit. Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, it's he has a famous mom too. I mean, I'll do my research, I promise you, by the time we get to that movie, but I get a kick out of watching the new movies, and it's like prominent actors' kids starring in it. Like I mentioned with Richie yesterday. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of that now. Like, no, I know what you're saying. You get a kick out of it.
In this case, it would be Jamie Lee being the actress from Psycho.
Yeah, Janet Leigh. Yeah, exactly. No, yeah.
So it's been happening all along.
Yes. Yeah. No, it has. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how much more you got, but I got nothing. Oh, actually, I do have one question. In Scream, when Dewey walks into the room and he hears Jamie Lee screaming, and he's kind of like all fucked up and he's trying to like figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah.
What scene is that? Is that when like the pursuit, the chase is going on?
No, that's the I think that's the closet scene.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's the
crying,
scene.
the traumatic crying. Yeah. Okay.
Because he's breaking through and she's like, ah! Yeah. That's the closet
like
scene.
Hysterically. Okay.
Yeah, that's the closet scene.
I was curious.
Yeah, so I got something else. How John Carpenter felt, like, how he became the director of this. After viewing Carpenter's film Assault on Precinct 13, Preci.
Precinct?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Got you.
After viewing Carpenter's film Assault on Precinct 13, 1976, 2 years before Halloween, at the Milan Film Festival, independent film producer Erwin Yoblins and financier Mustafa Akkad, who is the guy who has the rights to Halloween, or did. I don't know if he does anymore. Sought out Carpenter to direct a film for them about a psycho killer that stalked babysitters.
When did the original When a Stranger Calls comes out?
Oh, the original When a Stranger Calls. Yeah.
Is this before or after Halloween? 1979.
One year later.
So I was just curious as what came first with the whole like babysitter thing going on there. Huh.
Yeah. Hey, I thought it was funny this morning there when I sent you Halloween 4 came out today.
Oh.
Remember that?
So I ended off.
You're like, shut the fuck up.
I did. So when you see this is actually the day after we recorded the Scream one, and I mentioned yesterday saying Shaun's gonna message me in the morning saying which movie got released how many years ago today, and he did, and it was Halloween 4, ironically.
I just thought that was funny.
Just meant to be.
You're like, shut the fuck up.
And I also, while we're on this topic, I made a comment about like, who the hell would reference like compare their love life to The Exorcist? And Jeff threw water at me. My husband Jeff threw water at me this morning, and I guess I twitched and I just kind of like looked at him, all like, you know, I was pissed. He was in the doghouse. He's like, "Wow, you twitched just like The Exorcist," and I'm like, "Did you just compare me to The Exorcist?"
Yeah.
And I texted Shaun right away because I'm like, "This is way too ironic."
Yeah, we were just talking about this yesterday.
That Exorcist thing for probably 3 fucking days. So
yeah. No, it was. It was so ironic how everything, you know, when you said that, and then I messaged you. Oh, look what's out today.
It all happened at the same time.
Yeah, it was perfect. No, it was awesome.
That's that.
That's that. That's that. John Carpenter's Halloween, 1978.
Before Shaun does say our final salutes on this one, I think what we're going to try to do with this one and the franchises where multiple timelines get created, we're going to have like a revisit episode to discuss the timeline. So like with Halloween, we'll discuss this original timeline, and then we'll have an episode discussing the Rob Zombie timeline, and then we'll have an episode discussing
the
like
Thorn,
the requel, I guess.
Thorn trilogy timeline, which is embarrassing. I don't. You know what, actually?
But it started off so well, and then we got to like that.
You know what? A lot of people actually. I'll bring this up because there's a lot of good things about Halloween Part 6. A lot of people don't like it, but there's so many great things about Halloween 6. It's another one of those movies that they do so many good things, but there's so many bad things at the same time. Like I
wouldn't be surprised if by that time two people were just over it. Like I'm not even gonna bother giving this one a chance because the original's the original.
Yeah.
And they haven't come close yet. They're not going to. So like I feel like
it was different, you know, it was a different storyline altogether, right? There was no Jamie Lee Curtis, right? So they're like, well,
exactly.
You know, something that's so good. You know, they do the first two. Like I said, you can watch the first two as one movie. It's not Nick Castle as Michael Myers in Part 2. It's Dick Warlock.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Dick.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Dick Warlock. I really like Part 2. It's in 1981. It's only a couple of years after, so it's not that far after.
That's the one where it opens up with like the ominous one. Is it one screen take where it's like him walking through and just killing people? Is that how that one opens up?
No, I don't think so. No. It opens up from where the first one ends.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So, yeah, it opens up, you know, it actually shows the scene from the ending from the first one, where he shoots him over the balcony, he shoots him 6 times, shoots him over the balcony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally picks up where it's...
It literally picks up, and then he runs down the stairs, and Sheriff Brackett comes over, and he's like, I shot him 6 times! Picks up from there. And then, like I said, you can literally watch 1 and 2 as one film.
Those are my favorite, like, movies, is when you can just keep on going.
Yeah.
I've unfortunately, even though as much as I love movies, I'm definitely, like, going through a TV series phase where I can just watch, like, 48 hours unhealthily and, like, binge. That's my kind of shit.
Okay.
Yeah, and then and that's why I end up diving deep into all of these things, is because, like, I binge watch so much, like, TV or, like, canon things that, like, I feel like I'm, like, living in their universe, and I have to, like, I don't know. I get a little obsessive with things sometimes. Right now it's Stranger Things, which I'm going to try to get Shaun to watch. So, which, if you guys listening have watched Stranger Things, you know that Halloween is referenced a lot of times on that. So I think Shaun will have fun with that.
Yeah. No, I'm going to check it out for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out for sure. But, I guess 3 hours,
it's probably that time.
Yeah, 3 hours, man. This has been the longest one ever. I can't wait to see what Jaws is going to be next in store. You know?
I apologize in advance, everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely. It'll probably be comparable to this.
I guess, yeah. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it. You got anything else?
I think we're good. I think you did mighty fine, my friend.
Yeah, I hope so, man. That's word for word, pretty much, on the movie. That's Halloween 1978, directed by John Carpenter.
The OG.
The OG masterpiece. Greatest slasher horror film of all time, ladies and gentlemen.